So good evening everyone. So we had covered the कितने time बाद हो रही है हमारी class? After how many days? A week or so, right? So anyways, huh? 5 days. So for the sake of like brief revision, so we were discussing the decline of Mughals. Just 1 second. So this can be a new way of categorization. So when we discuss the decline of Mughals, so decline, it can be as simple as that: political decline, economic decline, and with respect to the people, that means the people, whether they are loyal or whether they are on the verge of rebellion. So when we discuss the political, so military, it is part of the political. So with respect to military, what is going to happen is that there is going to be what you call as military decline. Military decline will take place because of what reasons? First is your continuous warfare of Aurangzeb 5807, right? That is 40 years of warfare that resulted in huge amount of economic decline, right? So therefore this component, Aurangzeb 5807's continuous warfare, it is also a component which can be listed under the economic head. Second component that comes into operation is that it resulted in no fruit. That is, ultimately they were futile, because in the first half of 18th century, the Marathas, they overturned all the positives or all the gains which were made by Aurangzeb. The whole of Deccan, it became orange in the form of Maratha Empire, right? Second component that comes into operation is that with respect to military, there was this component of military corruption, right? And this military corruption, it is linked with another economic component, and that is called as Jagirdari crisis. We'll also discuss about it later on, but jitna abhi tak discuss kiya hai, so on that particular basis, because huge amount of economic expenditure took place because of the wars of the Aurangzeb, right? And then because another example, for example, Nadir Shah's invasion, we'll discuss it later, right? So therefore that resulted in economic weakening of the Mansabdars, and now the Mansabdars, they were not as much into maintaining the army as per Sawar, right? So therefore, because of the continuous warfare, the economy of the Mansabdars, it also went down. They were more motivated to do military corruption. Going forward, around 1739, this defeat at the hands of Nadir Shah took place, which further economically weakened the whole of the Mughal Empire even more strongly, and therefore further military corruption took place. So these things are kind of interconnected. I'll dictate you, don't worry about that. Okay? It is part of the proof of the decline of Mughals, right? So if you do not have money, then you will not be able to maintain army. If you are fighting continuous warfare, your economy will be down. If you are facing a huge defeat in the form of Nadir Shah 1739, then your economy will be down. And as a result, the Mansabdars, their personal economy is down, and they are not ready to be loyal. There are increased chances of disaffection, and they are doing military corruption. What is military corruption? Not maintaining army as per Sawar is the military corruption. That is one of the component, right? This Nadir Shah, it is also linked to this economic decline. So therefore, thoda sa hazy hai, because events are taking place, and these events, they are having political impact as well as economic impact, right? Then another component is political stability. So political stability, it is Political stability, it is absent because of factionalism. So that is the topic that we are going to discuss today. Faction, it means groups, group politics, right? So therefore, after Aurangzeb 5807, there were weak personalities as Mughal emperors, and these weak personalities were not able to balance the mansabdars in the court. All of you are mansabdars, all of you desire good mansabs and good jagirs, right? And therefore, you want either influence on the present emperor, or you want to replace the present emperor with emperor of your choice who will give you the desired mansabs and the jagirs, right? And as a result, huge amount of this group politics, it is taking place in the Mughal court, and therefore the government is not interested in looking at governance, the government is not interested in military reforms, the government is all consumed by this group politics, which we will discuss today, right? So therefore the center is getting politically weak, right? One example is when Nadir Shah was about to attack, right? So therefore for whole 1 year, these people knew that Nadir Shah has begun the attack from 1738. For whole 1 year, every day the Mughal cabinet met, that is every day the Mughal court met. From day to evening, they discussed that who should be the commander of the army, and they could not come at a decision. Such amount of group politics was there. Such amount of weak personalities of Mughal emperors was there, right? Then the admin system, that is the last component that we discuss, that institutional failure. So because there was personal loyalty and not impersonal loyalty, if the emperor is not able to give you the desired mansab and jagir, then you are becoming disloyal. Then you are entering into the domain of factionalism. And as a result, this also contributed. Another component, economically. So Aurangzeb's wars, they economically weakened the Mughal Empire. There was something called Jagirdari crisis, where there was shortage of jagirs, and more number mansabdars were there who were after getting these jagirs, right? So there was a crisis, we'll discuss about it. And then Nadir Shah, right? This is also connected with the Jagirdari crisis. So isko table ko khud se baad mein aap log pura kar sakte ho, ya fir you can basically, this was simply just a very rough kind of an example, that it is not necessary that the organization which the teacher is giving you, the way the teacher is giving you notes, your short notes, they should be only like that only. No, you can go with, मैंने categories क्या बनाया? मैंने categories बनाया role of Aurangzeb, राइट? मैंने कैटेगरीज बनाया. अब जैसे पीपल वाला पार्ट है, तो पीपल वाले पार्ट में अभी तक हम क्या पढ़ चुके हैं? सो देयरफॉर फॉर एग्जांपल, रिलीजियसली डिवाइसिव पॉलिसीज ऑफ औरंगजेब, पॉलिसीज ऑफ औरंगजेब, राइट? और बाकी कुछ कंपोनेंट्स हैं विच विल बी डिस्कसिंग नाउ, ठीक है? अभी तक हमने डिस्कस नहीं करे, राइट? सो जरूरी नहीं है दैट यू फॉलो द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ऑफ योर टीचर ओनली. इन फैक्ट इन साइकोलॉजी देयर इज अ कंपोनेंट कॉल्ड self-organization effect. That is, if you make your own categories, if you make your own organization, such content will be much better remembered by you in the exam. The chances of rote learning will be very, very less. This is just a random example. I simply came out in front of the board and I simply randomly started thinking that can there be a new way to categorize, and these therefore political aspects, some of the economic aspects, and some of the people related aspects, this categorization can be there, and you can give your answer in this particular format also. Right? So there is both UPSC, it is not about that school like learning where the teacher used to cut marks if you have not written in exactly step by step manner the way it has been dictated in the class. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, right? And if you try to restrict yourself by the language of the books, if you try to restrict yourself with the organization of the content in the book, then you are not going to be able to make it, right? It is especially for those students who are from non-humanities background, राइट? ह्यूमैनिटीज बैकग्राउंड इन द कॉलेज एटसेट्रा, उनको तो पता होगा कि ऐसा कोई जरूरी नहीं है, हम अपनी लैंग्वेज से भी आंसर लिख सकते हैं कॉलेज वगैरह में, राइट? तो एनीवेज, सो इंस्टीट्यूशनल हमने लिख लिया था. व्हाट वाज द लास्ट लाइन? डिसलॉयल्टी अमंग mansabdars took roots, राइट? दैट वाज द लास्ट लाइन. नेक्स्ट, राइट डाउन मिलिट्री वीकनेस. मिलिट्री वीकनेस, see, in today's time there is democracy, and after every 5 years there are elections, and therefore those entities who want to come to power, they have a chance to come to power in a very systematic manner after every 5 years, right? But if there is no democracy, then what is the way to come to power? The way to come to power is military defeat of the person who is in power right now. So therefore, in the pre-democratic eras, most of the states, they were military states. That is, they either came into existence because of a stronger military, or they stayed in existence because of stronger military, or they withered away because of a weak military. For example, first battle of Panipat 1526. A state witnessed a military defeat, that is Delhi Sultanate, and a new state which witnessed a military success, that is the Mughal Empire. and therefore accordingly Mughal Empire came into its re-establishment of the Mughal Empire with second battle of Panipat. It's a battle. So उस दौरान में, उस दौर में, simple point is, if you are militarily powerful, then you will be stable, then your state will be stable, strong. If you are militarily weak, then your state is going to be weak. As simple as that. And for military you require money. For military you require money, right? So therefore write down, Mughal state was a military state. Mughal state was a military state. Mughal state was a military state. ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के लिखिए, नॉट नेशन स्टेट. ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के लिखिए, नॉट नेशन स्टेट, सेमीकॉलन, नॉट नेशन स्टेट, सेमीकॉलन. नेशन इज इक्वल टू, नेशन इज इक्वल टू पीपल हु फील वन. नेशन इज इक्वल टू पीपल हु फील वन. नेशन इज इक्वल टू पीपल हु फील वन. कॉमा कंट्री इज इक्वल टू टेरिटरी. नेशन इज इक्वल टू पीपल हु फील वन, कॉमा कंट्री इज इक्वल टू टेरिटरी. Comma state is equal to organization, comma state is equal to organization that manages. State is equal to organization that manages. ब्रैकेट में दोबारा स्टार लगा के, अभी ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के, दोबारा ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के, मैनेजेस के बीच में, मैनेजेस को मैं, अरे भाई मेरे, that manages. These English people, elite people, they use some complex terms in our UPSC to confuse people like us and to make us feel as if there is a, मैं सच बताऊं, there is a topic called governance or good governance, right? That is not a topic at all. Good governance can be completed in one page. ठीक है, one page, फालतू, ठीक, कुछ है ही नहीं उसमें. It is nothing but dictionary. Dictionary meaning is going on. Manages, manages माने यहां पे आप लिंक करना बाद में गवर्नेंस. सी, गवर्न करना इज इक्वल टू मैनेज करना. मैनेजिंग इज इक्वल टू गवर्नेंस, एज सिंपल एज दैट. सो स्टेट इज ऑर्गेनाइजेशन दैट मैनेजेस. ठीक है, अच्छे तरीके से मैनेज करेगा, लोगों को इंक्लूड करके मैनेज करेगा. इफ इट मैनेजेस एफिशिएंटली, इफ इट मैनेजेस बाय इंक्लूडिंग द पीपल हु आर बीइंग गवर्न्ड, देन यू सिंपली कॉल इट गुड गवर्नेंस. Right? And how you will have good governance, for example, if there is accountability, if there is transparency, blah, 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 right? So anyways, so that is nothing but just dictionary, right? कुछ है ही नहीं उस टॉपिक में. But anyways, वो तो फ्री का टॉपिक है, अगर कोई समझ के पढ़े तो फ्री का है. कोई, if someone gets hooked on to the English words, then fine. Governance, sir, from where to read governance from? Sir, I bought this book on governance, right? Nothing. So that manages affairs of nation and country. Affairs of nation and country. State is equal to organization that manages affairs of nation and country. That manages affairs of nation and country. Affairs of nation and country. Full stop. ये भी ब्रैकेट्स में चल रहे हैं हम. Full stop. A state slash organization. A state slash organization. A state slash organization. Created by the people slash nation. A state slash organization created by the people slash nation is equal to nation state. Is equal to nation state. Example, COI states. Example, Constitution of India states. We, the people of India, give ourselves. Something like this is written, give ourselves this constitution. We people of India give ourselves this constitution. That means who, and it is the constitution which is creating this organization. It is the constitution which says that there will be a judiciary, that there will be a chief justice, that there will be a judge of Supreme Court, that there will be High Court, that there will be judge of High Court, that there will be Council of Ministers, that there will be Lok Sabha, that there will be Raj Sabha. Who is creating this organization? Which document creates this organization? The Constitution of India creates this organization. And in the Constitution of India, it is written that the people of India are giving to ourselves this constitution. So that means it is the people of India, that is the nation of India, which has created the organization or the state of India. ये Ministry of Finance किसने बनाया? हमने बनाया. Ministry of Defense किसने बनाया? हमने बनाया. PM की पोस्ट किसने बनाई? हमने बनाई. We have created. President हमने बनाया. right? So this state or this organization, this bureaucracy, this military, this judiciary, it is created by the people of India, and therefore India, it is a nation state, right? So therefore in democracy you have nation state. In democracy you have nation state, right? So anyways, brackets closed. अब आपके हो गए brackets closed. So Mughal state was a military state, right? मैं आपको simply भी लिखा सकता था, Mughal state was a military state. आगे बढ़ो, right? But हर word को देख के अगर हम पढ़ेंगे, then we will be doing not just history, we'll be doing some other subjects also. And because history is what? History is nothing but history of all the subjects. Next point, poor military. Poor military. Poor military. अच्छा अब देखिए, हमने क्या लिखा? मिलिट्री स्टेट. तो वहां पे क्या हुआ? इट वॉज द बाबर्स मिलिट्री विच हैड अ विक्ट्री एंड देन बाबर क्रिएटेड अ स्टेट. So therefore military state, a state which was created by military victory, military state, a state which is continuing to exist because of military superiority, a state which will wither away if the military is weak. Military state, right? So anyways, poor military because of lack of technological and organizational reforms. Poor military due to lack of technological and organizational reforms. Technological and organizational reforms. Right, so this point is simple, right, in the sense that technological reforms. Later on when we discuss the East India Company, there will mention some things. For example, what can be these technological reforms? From जितना हमने अभी तक पढ़ा है, for example, we discussed that Babur was able to win the first battle of Panipat because of field artillery, right? Small, and it was the first major battle where gunpowder was used. So therefore, because there was some technology with one party, therefore it was victorious, right? So therefore, but over a period of time, the technological reforms, they are stagnating, right? And multiple reasons are there, factionalism and all those things, right? We discussed. Similarly, when we discussed about the Europeans, in the case of Europeans, we'll be in our discussions, we'll be talking about such kind of scenarios that actually huge number of wars took place in Europe, right? And in Hindi, for example, there is a kahavat, karat karat abhyas ke jadmati ho sujan, right? In English, it simply means when you do a task repeatedly, right, and you make efforts in doing that task more efficiently, then you'll be able to find very, very efficient solutions to those particular problems, right? That is, you should continue to persevere. In Europe, because so many wars are taking place, because matters of life and death is there, because matters of political power is there. So gradually over a period of time, Europe was able to develop better military strategy, better ways to organize their military. Organize the military माने what should be the departments within the military, right? In each department, मतलब कि regiment होना चाहिए या platoon होना चाहिए, right? One regiment, it should be purely of infantry. Another regiment should be purely of artillery. Another regiment should be purely of logistics. That is those people who are responsible for supplying food, supplying arms, etc. One regiment purely of cavalry, that is horses. One regiment purely of elephants. ऐसा होना चाहिए. Or one regiment has some infantry, has some artillery, has some cavalry, has some logistics unit, has some own transport, and therefore is kind of like a mini army. So multiple regiments, but each regiment self-sufficient, not dependent on any other regiment. Now that system should be there, or that system should be there. Which is better for what size of army, right? So therefore these kind of organizational reforms, right? So how to ensure that such organization is there, that if the top commander gives a command, march, then within the same day, the whole army is marching. Or there is some confusion for the 5 days, some part of the army has started marching, some part of the army is still behind, right? So therefore, faster movement of commands given at the top to the ground level sepoy at the bottom. So what should be the structure? What should be the command and control system within your organization, right? So this is like a general concept. So for example, such things were developed. I was reading this book Anarchy, right? So where they were talking about some battle. I'm forgetting the name of the battle. Yeah, they were talking about the Nadir Shah's battle, right? 1739. Or they were talking about third battle of Panipat or something like that, right? So there basically they said that there was huge, barrage of cannons. That is the Indian side. It reacted by sending top ke gole, right? If they fired the cannons or something like this, right? But they fell in the water. Right? बहुत छोटी सी चीज है, but the Europeans developed such a scenario that if the pen is there, like let's say it is a cannon, then you can put the gun. You can imagine that this is a cannon, or you can imagine that this is a gun. You can fix it here, and you can tighten the screw, and then you can keep on firing, and at the same point it will keep on striking. Right? You can lose the screw. Right? So you can shift the angle. You can shift it like this. Right? And then you can fix this gun on the ground, and you can continue to fire, right? So such kind of things, they brought great amount of success in the military campaign, such small things, right? For example, strategies or new kind of arms. For example, all of you might have seen grapes, right? There was a gun called grape shot, right? Many of you might have played the game Counter-Strike, right? So Counter-Strike may, or any video game, where if there is shotgun is there, right? So shotgun is a grape shot. So basically, if you go near a wall and you fire, right? So you find that it's not one bullet, but 7-8 bullets which are firing, right? So 7-8 bullets firing like a grape shot. So imagine that this is like gucha, right? Anguro ka gucha, right? So that is grapes, and when you fire, so therefore 10 to 12 bullets they are fired at the same time. Right. So therefore, such kind of guns they were developed by the Europeans later, and that proved to be very, very efficient for them. That proved to be very, very efficient for the Europeans. Right. So basically, we are trying to say that this kind of scenario, this kind of strategies, or this kind of technological reforms, they were not there. Organizational reforms, they were properly not done. Right. So kahin na kahin, they became complacent because they were the top powers. So gradually they became complacent. Plus other kind of group politics, etc. It is there. Next point, weak war commanders. It is within the military weakness. Next subpoint, weak war commanders. Weak war commanders. Weak war commanders. Especially after AZ 5807. Weak war commanders, especially after Aurangzeb 5807. Weak war commanders, especially after Aurangzeb 5807. Right, so this is natural because strong personality and his capability to pick and choose good commanders, right? Us kind of stuff. Next, military corruption. Military corruption. Example, military corruption. Example, non-maintenance. Military corruption. Example, non-maintenance. Military corruption. Example, non-maintenance of army as per Savar. Non-maintenance of army as per Savar. Non-maintenance of army as per Savar. Due to disaffection. Due to disaffection. Due to disaffection and Jagirdari crisis. Due to disaffection and Jagirdari crisis. Due to disaffection and Jagirdari crisis. Right? Tanvi had asked a question, sir, could you please repeat the institutional failure? So therefore, if I'm explaining this disaffection, I can again go back to the institutional failure, and Tanvi's question will also be addressed, and this particular point will also be addressed, right? So institutional failure, it basically meant that the system, the most important of the core system of the Mughals was called Mansabdari system. Right? And loyalty of bureaucracy is very, very important for any state to function effectively. Why? Because it is the bureaucrats which are the people who implement the different policies of the government. They are the face of the government on the ground. Similarly, military is also the face of the government in the battles. Right? And Mansabdari system was military bureaucracy. That means both combined. So if these Mansabdars, that is your bureaucracy and your military, if they are not loyal to you, then for how long will you survive? You will not be able to survive. You will not be able to survive. Your state will fail. Right? So now, in the Mansabdari system, the loyalty depended on what? The loyalty depended on not any constitution, not any code of conduct. For example, today, your behavior, it is governed by code of conduct for central services, code of conduct for all India services. what you should do, what you should not do. Your ethics are clearly listed down, right? Your ethics, they are clearly listed down, right? And it is a separate matter. I don't know how many of the coaching institutes they focus upon what you call as the government ने खुद बता रखा है कि एक bureaucrat के ethics क्या होते हैं. And I don't know how many of the aspirants they will read lexicon, they will read XYZ, but they will not try to understand that what exactly the ethics are which are given in the code of conduct for bureaucrats, central services or all India services, right? So anyways, so your loyalty depends today. It is attached with the constitution, it is attached with your service rules. But in that time, your loyalty, that is the Mansabdar's loyalty, it depends on what? It depends on a give and take relationship. If the king is giving you Jagir and Mansab, then you are giving him loyalty and army. And if the king fails to give you your desired Jagir and Mansab, then your loyalty may suffer. Right? And therefore, this was the institutional failure. That is, there came a point of time when the king was not able to give the desired Mansab and Jagir. And as a result, the loyalty suffered. And the institutions, they started to fail. That is the institutional failure. Right? So therefore, and if you are disloyal, so let us come to this point. जो अभी लिखा हमने. If you are disloyal, then what you will do? You will not maintain army as per the Savar. Why? Because you are concerned for your personal profits. If you had a Jagir of 100 rupees of land revenue, out of that 40 rupees was only your personal money, 60 rupees you had to spend it on the military. But now you are disloyal, now you are selfish, now you try to corner away the money which you should not have used for personal use. And you do not maintain an army as per your Savar. And if you don't do that, the king is depending upon you for the military strength. And because you are militarily corrupt, therefore the king is naturally weak. And if the king's military is naturally weak, Mughal state was a military state, so therefore how it will survive. Right? So therefore this became another reason for the weakness of this thing. Jagirdari crisis, we'll discuss soon what it was. Next, write down factionalism. After the military weakness, next Roman 4 or the fourth category is factionalism. Factionalism. In brackets, group politics. In brackets, group politics. Factionalism. In brackets, group politics. FACTION, faction माने group. Factionalism means group politics. Right? जैसे कॉलेज में नहीं हो जाता था उस प्रकार से. ठीक है. You must be part of some gang. He must be part of some other gang. Right? Groups are fighting against each other. Right? Anyways. So write down. Post AZ 5807. Post AZ 5807. Aurangzeb 5807. There were continuous succession disputes. There were continuous succession disputes. So what we had written is, post Aurangzeb 5807, there were continuous succession disputes and factionalism increased. And factionalism increased. And factionalism increased. Full stop. This also led to competition. This also led to competition. This also led to competition between different groups of mansabdars. This also led to competition between different groups of mansabdars. Between different groups of mansabdars. Dash Irani group, Irani, comma Turani, comma Hindustani group. Irani Turani Hindustani group. Irani Turani Hindustani group. As they now wanted, as they now wanted, as they now wanted, as they now wanted, their favorite, as they now wanted their favorite, as they now wanted their favorite to be the next emperor, as they now wanted their favorite to be the next emperor, as they now wanted their favorite to be the next emperor, or wanted influence over existing emperor, or wanted influence over existing emperor, comma, so they could extract, comma, so they could extract better mansabs and jagirs. So they could extract better mansabs and jagirs. So they could extract better mansabs and jagirs. Full stop. The contenders to the throne, the contenders to the throne, that is aspirants who want to be king, the contenders to the throne, the contenders to the throne, THRONE, contenders to the throne, also wanted support of mansabdars, also wanted support of mansabdars, also wanted support of mansabdars. Who contributed? Who contributed? Which contributed? Which contributed? Which contributed to factionalism? Which contributed to factionalism? Which contributed to factionalism in Mughal court? Which contributed to factionalism in Mughal court? ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के लिखिए, ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के लिखिए. तो क्या है बेसिकली, ये लिखिए जितना भी हमने फालतू की बकवास लिखी है अभी, ठीक, बकवास नहीं लिखी बट फिर भी it can be basically summarized into this thing, right? So basically what is there? Factionalism, right? So what are the components of factionalism? It is basically a mathematical equation. On one side there are kings or potential kings. On one side there are potential kings who want to become a king, who want to become a king. On the other side there are mansabdars. There are mansabdars and their groups who want what? They want better mansabs and they want better jagirs. When these two things combine, it results in even the king's participation in factionalism, right? It results in even the king's participation in factionalism, or we can say that it results in what you call as uncontrolled factionalism. It results in uncontrolled factionalism. How? The question comes to our mind कि ये क्या कहा सर ने? See, the component is that mansabdars they have certain characteristics. These mansabdars, they are monetarily rich because they belong to families, rich families. Remember, what was the criteria to become a mansabdar? That whether your papa was a mansabdar, whether your grandpapa was a mansabdar. So therefore, if you are today a mansabdar and that also an important mansabdar, most probably or in all likelihood, you will come from a family which has been very, very powerful since many decades. Economically powerful, militarily powerful, right? You would be holding some big jagirs since many decades because you come from a family of strong mansabdars. So therefore, these mansabdars, they are rich. And second, these are the mansabdars who have army with them. They are the people who maintain army. Remember the Savar? So therefore, these are the people who are militarily rich. They are the people who are monetarily rich, right? And if me and you, right? So therefore, this is this particular component, right? Now, if me and you, right? You are, let's say, Farooq CR and I am Jahandar Shah, right? I am right now in power, Jahandar Shah 1213, and Farooq CR, you want to come to power 1319, right? If me and you are fighting to be in power, what will we do? So therefore, that is the succession dispute. What we will do is that the king or the potential contenders to the throne, that is the aspirants to the throne, they would try to woo the Mansabdars. They would try to woo the Mansabdars. And if I am able to have more number of Mansabdars on my side, then Mr. Jahandar Shah, your future is bleak. If I am able to have powerful Mansabdars on my side, then the chances of my victory will be strong, right? So therefore, aspirants, they want to woo, they want to win, want to have Mansabdars on their side. They want to have Mansabdar on their side. Why? Because of this component. And because they now want the Mansabdars to be on their side, that means the king is now talking to the Mansabdars. You'll be with me or with that person, right? The king is doing back channel talks within the court. Samne sab kuch aur, kaise ho, right? And after the thing, some back channel talks is happening. Acha, ye jo milne aaya tha, ye mere saath hai, uske saath hai, right? So therefore, even the king is participating in this factionalism or in group politics, right? Right? For example, you are my trusted man, so I'll be asking you, how many of them they are still with me, and how many of them they have shifted their sides to my younger brother? If war takes place, who will support me and who will support him, right? So therefore, this kind. Acha, but theek hai. Then you tell me that sir, this person is indecisive. मैं कहा क्या करना है इसका? Okay, sir, if you promise him a good mansab, then ये तो आएगा अपने साथ 4 और को लेके आएगा. That he'll bring 4 others with him. मैंने कहा उनको भी मनसब देने पड़ेंगे. क्या हाँ सर उनको दे दें कुछ? We'll give him some mansab. We'll give them some mansabs, right? So मैंने कहा ठीक है. On my behalf, you talk to him. Right. So you see the king himself is participating in group politics. Now it is not just the Mansabdars who are engaging in group politics trying to win favor of the king. The king also wants to win favor of the Mansabdars. Why? Because Mansabdars, they are monetarily rich and militarily rich. And therefore this results in what you call as uncontrolled factionalism. So why there was this uncontrolled factionalism? Why? Because there were series of succession disputes. There were weak rulers, right, who are fighting among each other. And second, there is fight among the Mansabdars for good Mansabs and Jagirs, right? And therefore, the different groups of the Mansabdars, they are thinking that either we are able to have influence over the existing emperor, or we are able to put our choice of candidate as king. Then after coming to power, he'll give us the Mansab that we want, the Jagir that we want, right? So therefore, this kind of scenario, it is there, right? So jitna humne pura paragraph likha, this is an example how you can make your notes. But you'll be able to make such notes only when you have done couple of revisions. When simply mentioning the word succession, you are able to understand that, okay, what is a succession dispute, right? If you are at that level of preparation where simply writing a word succession, ये एक तो ये आपको खुद लिखना है. So खुद वही आप लिखोगे जो आप समझ के लिखोगे. The thing so this has to be written by you, right? So not this, but something else. But this is how you should make your own notes, right, in some logical structure. That see, there was a succession dispute, plus there was a fight for mansabs. Kisme? Mansabdars and their groups. It resulted in what? Uncontrolled factionalism. माने कि uncontrolled कैसे? अरे भाई, Mansabdars, they were monetarily rich. They also had military army, and the aspirants to the throne, right? They wanted to have Mansabdars on their side, and therefore, as a result, uncontrolled factionalism or group politics, it is taking place. Right? In words, I've explained it to you. You can form your own organization, and if you make such notes in any of the subjects, then these notes will be the real short notes, where you have not reduced the font size, where you have not used extra number of words. But क्योंकि ये शब्द आपके अपने हैं, these are your words, right? So therefore, this kind of synergy, right? तो this is nothing but factionalism. It is there, right? तो ये चार्ट इसको अच्छे से explain करता है. Then ठीक है, एक और चीज you can write down. इसको लिख लो अगर लिखना है तो. अभी बना लो, अभी तो बना ही दिया मैंने क्योंकि. तो ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के प्लीज मेक दिस. फैक्शनलिज्म माने सक्सेशन डिस्प्यूट्स प्लस फाइट फॉर मनसब्स. इट रिजल्टेड इन अनकंट्रोल्ड फैक्शनलिज्म. डन, ठीक। ये हमने लिख लिया था ना पहले, दैट हिंदुस्तानी ग्रुप कौन था, लिख लिया था, नहीं लिखा था, ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा लिखो। ईरानी ग्रुप, ईरानी ग्रुप इज इक्वल टू शिया, ईरानी ग्रुप इज इक्वल टू शिया, हाँ ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा लिख लो। ईरानी ग्रुप इज इक्वल टू शिया, शियाज, ईरानी ग्रुप इज इक्वल टू शियाज, SHIAS. So in Muslims there are Shias and Sunnis. Irani group is equal to Shias plus had Persian origin, plus had Persian origin, PERSIAN, Persian माने Iranian origin, plus had Persian origin, plus had Persian origin, plus example Humayun 3040, example Humayun 3040 took help of Persians, example Humayun 3040 took help of Persians, took help of Persians. For recapturing power in 1555, for recapturing power in 1555, for recapturing power in 1555. Hence their presence as Mansabdars. 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 Okay? So basically, good relations say with Iran, and many of the Iranians, they are, so some kind of an alliance was there, and many of the Iranians, therefore, they are present in India as Mansabdars, right? Semicolon, Turani group, TURANI, Turani group is equal to Sunnis. Turani group is equal to Sunnis, SUNNIS. Turani group is equal to Sunnis plus from same lineage as Mughals, from same origins as Mughals, from same origins as Mughals, from same origins as Mughals. Semicolon, Hindustani group is equal to, Hindustani group is equal to converted Indian Muslims. Hindustani group is equal to converted Indian Muslims. Converted Indian Muslims. Converted Indian Muslims. Semicolon, Deccani group, DECCANI, Deccani group, Deccani group is equal to, Deccani group is equal to nobles of Golconda, nobles of Golconda and Bijapur, nobles of Golconda and Bijapur, who were made Mansabdars by AZ 5807, who were made Mansabdars by AZ 5807 after defeating Golconda 1687, after defeating Golconda 1687 and Bijapur 1685, after defeating Golconda 1687 and Bijapur 1685. Semicolon, Hindus is equal to Hindus, Golconda 1687, Bijapur 1685. Semicolon, Hindus is equal to mainly Rajputs, brackets closed. So therefore there existed different groups, right? So let's say you are Turani group, you are Irani group, you are Hindustani group, you are Hindus, right? So in the Mughal court, and I am the Mughal emperor, and you people used to fight among each other for more mansabs. How? For example, you would want your family members to be mansabdars as well, right? So therefore, let's say you are a group, so therefore from this group you have 3 family members as mansabdars. You want more number of your extended family members to be mansabdars. Same with you, right? So therefore, plus you want better mansabs also. So therefore, group politics used to take place in this particular manner, right? Next, write down the able mansabdars, brackets close हो गए अब, इसी में point है, the able mansabdars acted selfishly, 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 and instead of strengthening, the able mansabdars acted selfishly, and instead of strengthening central authority, instead of strengthening central authority, instead of strengthening central authority, they focused on carving out their own principalities. They focused on carving out, CARVING, carving out their own principalities. स्कूल का प्रिंसिपल होता है ना, वो PAL होता है, PLE नहीं होता. प्रिंसिपल with PLE means a rule, an ethic, a siddhant. Principal, PAL, means the person who is important, right? Principality माने, for example, right now this class is my principality in the sense that I am dominating this class right now. तो or for example, my principality means my successor state. For Murshid Quli Khan, his principality is Bengal, right? For Chin Kulich Khan 244048 or Nizam 244048 or Asaf Jah 1 244048, his principality is Hyderabad. For Sadat Ali Khan 2240, his principality is Awadh, right? So therefore, later on we will see that after 17, how these people they behaved, iske proofs hum baad mein denge, but they are the ones who are acting selfishly, right? Example, राइट. तो एनीवेज ये सब लिखना नहीं आपको, ये मैं आपको एक दिस इज लाइव प्रोजेक्ट विच इज गोइंग ऑन, दैट हाउ कैन यू मेक नोट्स. एनीवेज नेक्स्ट पॉइंट राइट ऑन, नेक्स्ट हेडिंग जागीरदारी क्राइसिस. जागीरदारी क्राइसिस हेडिंग है, इट्स अ नेक्स्ट पॉइंट आफ्टर द फैक्शनलिज्म, इट इज द नेक्स्ट पॉइंट. जागीरदारी क्राइसिस, जागीरदारी क्राइसिस of 18th century. Jagirdari crisis of 18th century. Jagirdari crisis of 18th century. See, when you say water crisis, it simply means shortage of water, right? As simple as that. So when you say Jagirdari crisis, it means shortage of Jagirs, right? Why there is shortage of water? Because there are more people who want to drink water. When there will be shortage of Jagir, when there are more people who want to have Jagir. Who are such people who want to have Jagir? Mansabdars, right? Therefore, no one wants to be Nagdi Mansabdars. No one wants to be Nagdi Mansabdar. Everyone wants to be Jagirdar Mansabdar. Why? Because the component is simple. You feel like you are king of this particular area. You are like the mini king of this particular area. This is your Jagir, right? It is status, right? So therefore, everyone wants to be Jagirdar Mansabdar, right? So when there will be crisis, when there are more number of mansabdars and land is limited, that means less amount of land available as Jagirs. So for this, what needs to happen? Two things they can happen. A, either the land should decrease, that is land under the Mughal Empire should decrease, or the number of mansabdars should increase. So therefore, we need to focus upon those aspects where the number of land तो ऐसे अभी तो decrease नहीं हुआ 18th century में. So now how the number of mansabdars they increased, resulting in shortage of Jagir. Another element can be there, inequity. Let's say you are 5 important mansabdars, right, who controlled huge amount of Jagirs. And as a result, the size of the Jagir which is available with other Mansabdars, they are very, very small. This kind of scenario. Size of the Jagir which is available with Mansabdar is very, very small. For a cinema hall, mein gaye kabhi? Right, imagine there is a cinema hall where the seats which are available, they are very, very small. Right, and people like me who are slightly overweight, slightly wo to khush karne ke liye, who are overweight, right, they are finding it hard, right, to sit on that seat is small, right, and we are like cramped, maja nahi aa raha. And then you look back, and at the back there is super luxury sofa seats where you press the button so your legs they also come back. वहां पे लोग ऐसे लेट के पिक्चर देखते हैं, कोई कंबल लेके आया हुआ है, people are brought their blankets also, right, super expensive, right, super expensive seats at times they are there in the cinema halls, but there they have a lot of space, right. So as a result what is happening, so this kind of scenario it is there, that is 5% Mansabdars they controlled 61% of land revenue from Jagirs. That means roughly, for the sake of simplicity, we can say 61% of Jagirdari land was with 5% of Mansabdars. और सिंपल कर देते हैं, परसेंटेज हटा देते हैं. Let's say there are 100 ले लेते हैं. 5 Mansabdars they had 61 units of 100 units of total land. 5 Mansabdars they controlled 61 units of land, and 95 Mansabdars they have to manage with remaining 39 units of land. That means you are a Mansabdar, you are very, very extra rich. You are also a Mansabdar, but you are a smaller Mansabdar, and your Jagir is very, very small. As a result, the amount of money which is coming from that Jagir, it is not enough for you. It is not enough for you, right? And now add to this that more number of Mansabdars. So therefore, now look at the crisis. So crisis दो प्रकार का है. एक है iniquity. One kind of crisis, it is iniquity. The smaller Mansabdars who are sitting at the back seat, right? The smaller Mansabdars who are sitting at the back seat, they are like, our Jagir is very, very small. We are not able to get enough amount of land revenue from this particular Jagir, right? And these smaller Mansabdars, they are in majority. They are 95% of them, right? Plus, so therefore, this is one kind of crisis, that the Jagir hai, but it is not good enough. जागीर है बट इट इज नॉट गुड इनफ. कार है पर अच्छी नहीं है, मारुति ऑल्टो में घूम रहा हूं, राइट, कार इज नॉट गुड, राइट. सेकेंड कॉम्पोनेंट इज नाउ यू इंक्रीज द नंबर ऑफ Mansabdars. So therefore more number of Mansabdars are there who are Jagirless and who are waiting for their turn, and this thing is going to have huge amount of. So first we need to find out ऐसा क्यों हुआ, right. Second we need to find out that what will be the consequence of this, right. So write down Jagirdari crisis of 18th century. हाँ जी. नहीं अभी द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ लैंड बीइंग लीजेबल एटसेट्रा वो इतना कोई ग्रेट नहीं है. एंड द कंपनीज हु आर कमिंग दे आर ट्रेडर्स, they are not manufacturers that they will be taking lands, that they will be doing agriculture here. So land will be required, either you want to set up a huge factory, or land will be required if you are a big agriculturist. The European companies who come to India, they take some small group of villages, let's say 10-20 villages, maybe 300 villages, that's okay, right? That is not a major reason for anything of this. नहीं वो उस कंटेक्स्ट में, मतलब मैं आपको सवाल समझा नहीं. कोई कंपनी आके मनसबदार तब बनेगी जब उसको मनसब दिया जाएगा. इफ सम पर्सन ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर कंपनी इज गिवन अ मनसब, देन इट विल बी कॉल्ड मनसबदार, राइट. And then do not lose the basic focus, and the basic focus is that when you call someone Jagirdar, that means the land revenue from Jagir is going to be with him. When you call someone Mansabdar, that means some Mansab has been given to it, right. Next question, why that particular Jagir has been given to it? Either it has been given as a Watan Jagir, as a gift, or it has been given so that he can get his tankha or salary. So this basic premise has also always to be in the mind, right. Never lose focus of the definition part, right. So that is there. So write down AZ 5807 annexed. AZ 5807 annexed. Golconda in 1687 and Bijapur in 1685. AZ 5807 annexed Golconda in 1687 and Bijapur in 1685. And then nobles of these kingdoms, were co-opted, co-opted, OPTED. Nobles of these kingdoms were co-opted as mansabdars, and this came to be known as Deccani group. Full stop. However, AZ 5807 converted most lands in these kingdoms to Khalisa lands. As wanted to fund his future warfare against Marathas. Wanted to fund his future warfare against Marathas. Full stop. Therefore, number of mansabdars increased. While land under Jagirdari did not. Number of mansabdars increased while land under Jagirdari did not. Land under Jagirdari did not. Next line. Emperors post AZ 5807. Appointed more and more mansabdars. Appointed more and more mansabdars for political reasons. That is to win support of different groups. Of mansabdars. Comma, either to come to power or to stay in power. Right? देखिए ये पॉइंट हमने यहां डिस्कस किया है. Right? So therefore this is linked with factionalism. Mansabdars, they are rich and they have army, right? And they also want better mansabs. I, as an aspirant, want support of the different groups of the mansabdars. So therefore, what do I do to bring the mansabdars on my side? I tell you that I'll make more number of your family members as mansabdars. right? Irani group, you just be with me. Each of your family, each person of the Irani group will be tried to be given the best mansabs. Let's say, or the leaders of the Irani group will be tried to be given best mansabs. Plus, your family members who are not yet mansabdars, I will make them mansabdars. Or kya chahiye tumhe? Right? So therefore, to get your support, what is the power of the king? Is to give mansabs and jagirs. Right? So he is giving more and more mansabs. Why? To get support of these different groups. So you feel not just you, but even your elder son, your younger son, they can also be mansabdars. The king is promising. So fine, I'll support you to become king. After you become king, you give me these mansabs. Right? Plus better mansab for you. So therefore, this kind of scenario. So therefore, you see the aspirants, they want to have mansabdars on their side. See, weak personality. They are engaging in this petty politics. They are not thinking long term. Right? And therefore, this led to Jagirdari crisis. Why? Because gave more mansabs. So now, all of you are mansabdars. But Jagir kahan se laun? I am not a magician that I can create land. Land is limited. Land is fixed. Right? So therefore, you see, this is what the connection of factionalism is with Jagirdari crisis. Right? Full stop. Therefore, further increasing number of mansabdars. Therefore, further increasing number of mansabdars. Next point, there was also inequity. Among mansabdars. There was also inequity among mansabdars. As 5% mansabdars, as 5% mansabdars had or controlled, 5% mansabdars controlled 61% of Jagirdari lands. 61% of Jagirdari lands. 61% of Jagirdari lands. Therefore, there was insecurity. Among smaller mansabdars. Therefore, there was insecurity among smaller mansabdars. Therefore, there was insecurity among smaller mansabdars. Next point, in 18th century, there was inflation. In 18th century, there was inflation. In 18th century, there was inflation in luxurious goods. Due to high exports to Europe by European trading companies. Due to high exports to Europe by European trading companies. Full stop. As Wazir from 1722-24. As Wazir from 1722-24. as Wazir from 1722-24, comma, Nizam 244048 as Wazir from 1722-24, comma, Nizam 244048. Tried but failed to convince. Tried but failed to convince. Nizam 244048 tried but failed to convince elite mansabdars. Tried but failed to convince elite mansabdars for redistribution of Jagirs. For redistribution of Jagirs. For redistribution of Jagirs. Full stop. For redistribution of Jagirs. इसका simple point basically क्या है? There are so many people who are standing in the cinema hall and watching the movie, right? And all the smaller seats are filled up, right? So therefore the cinema hall manager comes and asks the elite people who are there on the sofa, in whole one sofa only one person is sitting. They try to convince them that these people are standing, so therefore why don't you share your sofa? In this sofa 3 people can come or 4 people can come while you are lying down here. He says कि भैया पैसे दिए, I have given money for this elite seat, okay? This is my seat. I am not going to give up my seat, right? So therefore the manager tried to convince the elite mansabdar that you have huge big Jagirs. There are so many Jagirless mansabdars, right, who are simply Nagdi mansabdars. Please give away some of your Jagirs, right, to these people, right? And therefore we can solve this problem. But the elite mansabdars, they are not agreeing. A student should have this question in their mind. But sir, these Jagirs which are there with the elite mansabdars, they are Tankha Jagirs. And Tankha Jagirs, they can always be taken away by the emperor. Tankha Jagirs, they can always be taken away by the emperor. They are not permanently given. They are transferable. But dear friends, by the time period of 1724, the Mughal emperor is very, very weak. If he tries to take away the Jagirs from the elite mansabdars, no one knows that in the morning he will be waking up alive or dead. And maybe another Rishtedar is seated on the throne as the next emperor. So it is not through force that the Mughal emperor can act. It is only through convincing power that the Mughal emperor can act. Why? Because we are not in the zone of pre-1707. We are in the domain of post-1707, where the Mughal emperors, they are weak, they are not as strong. And Mansabdars, they have power, right? And many examples are there. Soon we'll be writing down. For example, Jahandar Shah came to power after killing father of Farooq Siyar. Farooq Siyar came to power after killing Jahandar Shah. Right? Farooq Siyar was murdered by Sayyid brothers. And then they brought Muhammad Shah as a puppet. So therefore these things are taking place. It is not just technical things which matter. It is what is there on the ground that also matters. Theoretically the king can in 1 second take away or reduce the size of the Jagirs in the interest of the empire. But aisa wo karega, so he will not be having the support of the Mansabdars who are rich and who are having army. These 5% Mansabdars will be the most important, most powerful, militarily and monetarily rich Mansabdars. So that is why he is trying to convince but failing to convince. They refused. That's sorry. Next point. Total कितने थे? 4500 Mansabdars थे total. Around 1700s 4500 Mansabdars total होते थे. उसका 5% निकालो वो कितने होंगे. Now smaller Mansabdars found it. Now smaller Mansabdars found it hard. Now smaller Mansabdars found it hard. Now smaller Mansabdars found it hard to maintain lifestyle. To maintain lifestyle. Adding to insecurity. Maintain lifestyle, adding to insecurity. Maintain lifestyle, adding to insecurity. Adding to insecurity. Write down next. Impact of Jagirdari crisis of 18th century. Impact of Jagirdari crisis of 18th century. impact of Jagirdari crisis of 18th century. और हमने we had also written one sentence where we mentioned that there was huge export of luxurious goods to Europe by European trading companies. So later on we'll discuss the advent of Europeans. Portuguese, they had come to India around 1500s, right? 1498 Vasco da Gama came. So since 1500s, 1600s, 1700s, your European trading companies are there, Portuguese are there, Dutch are there, French are there, Britishers are there. So they are basically, they are Bhikhari basically, na? They are not very rich civilizations. Whereas we are very rich elite kind of civilization, right? So therefore these people, they want our goods, right? Right? Our goods are something, you know how rich you were. For example, do you eat chawal, rice? So in rice at times our mother, she put clove, CLOVE, clove. Clove in Hindi you call it long, right? And आपका पता नहीं, but in my childhood when my mother used to give me those rice, and I used to like spit the clove. मैं ये क्या डाल दिया? You know, it's like I don't like this. Please don't put it in my, you know, rice, right? So therefore the thing which I spat, right? So therefore there was a time in 1500s, 1600s. In 1600s there was a time that 1 kg of clove from India sold at 1 kg of gold in Europe. Right, so therefore you see this was a thing, this was the life at that point of time. You guys, you come from such a rich civilization, right? So that kind of scenario, when Vasco da Gama came to India for the first time, so therefore if he bought goods for one, he sold the Indian goods at 800% profits, 800% profits. So 1 rupee became 8 rupees, 800% profits, 8 times, right? So therefore that is the status of the civilization. It is only because of industrial revolution, that the Europeans, for a very brief, it is basically a blip in the history of tens of thousands of years. How much 300 years matter? Nothing. So only for 300 years, 350, 400 years, these people, they enjoyed power. And again the world order is rebalancing to its natural order. People say that this is the Asian century. China is already at number 1. India is at number 3. Right? The only thing they use is, you know, they try to use this per capita income. Per capita income. Go to hell. What per capita? We are Indians, as simple as that. Okay? We act as a united country. Simple. Okay? That is why so many, you know, so much focus is there. That's why it is not, that's why anyone could have been the prime minister. Yes, personality matter, and our present prime minister has good personality, but that is the reason is because he is representing India. That is why everyone is willing to, you know, hug him, you know, have him at the center stage, right? So it is your power as a nation, and that is how the things are, right? That's why Tesla, सब कुछ, everything, right? So anyways, ये तो लोग तो in general, they were not very rich people. They were like very, you know, nowadays when these फिरेंगे चलो छोड़ो मैं फिर वो बहक जाता हूँ बातों में. Anyways, so impact of that. So basically, these people, they were taking the luxurious goods out, right? So therefore, if the supply of the luxurious Indian goods, right, they are that is in India, that is decreasing. So naturally, the demand, relative demand is high. If supply is less and demand is more, then the prices are automatically high. So therefore, for the smaller mansabdars, it is tough to maintain lifestyle, right? The, you know, people are looking at them and they're like, you are a mansabdar? नहीं कैसे कपड़े पहने हो तुम, right? So therefore, this kind of scenario, right? So they found it hard to maintain lifestyle. ऐसा भी था, right? Anyways, so what is the impact of Jagirdari crisis? First sub point, write down. Impact of Jagirdari crisis, first sub point. Many Mansabdars stayed Jagirless for years. Many Mansabdars stayed Jagirless for years. Many Mansabdars stayed Jagirless for years. right? Write down. Many Mansabdar stayed Jagirless for years. Right? Obviously, land is not there, available. Nahi hai. Second, insecurity among Mansabdars. Insecurity among Mansabdars due to frequent transfer of Jagirs. Insecurity among Mansabdars due to frequent transfer of Jagirs. Due to frequent transfer of Jagirs to other Mansabdars. Frequent transfer of Jagirs to other Mansabdars. Frequent transfer of Jagirs to other Mansabdars, that is insecurity of tenure. That is insecurity of tenure. That is insecurity of tenure of holding Jagir. Insecurity of tenure of holding Jagir. Insecurity of tenure of holding Jagir. Next point. Therefore now there was increased operation. Therefore now there was increased operation. Therefore now there was increased operation of riots. Therefore now there was increased operation of riots and primary zamindars. Therefore now there was increased operation of riots and primary zamindars. And primary zamindars. As Mansabdars wanted to extract, as Mansabdars, therefore now there was increased operation of riots and primary zamindars. As Mansabdars wanted to extract as much LR as possible, wanted to extract as much LR as possible from the Jagir, as much LR as possible from the Jagir, as much LR as possible from the Jagir. Next point. Now there was greater spread. Now there was greater spread of Ijaradari system. 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 As Mansabdar Jagirdar tried maximizing his earnings. As Mansabdar Jagirdar tried maximizing his earnings. Now there was greater spread of Ijaradari system as Mansabdar Jagirdar tried maximizing his earnings. Tried maximizing his earnings. Next, due to insecurity of tenure, due to insecurity of tenure, no incentive for Jagirdar investing, for Jagirdar Mansabdar investing, for Jagirdar Mansabdar investing in productivity of land, in productivity of Jagir, in productivity of Jagir, in productivity of Jagir. Therefore further hurting incomes of riots. Therefore further hurting income of riots. Therefore further hurting income of riots. Right, obviously. So see what is happening is, because there are so many, let's say we were in that cinema hall, movie is going on and everyone wants to watch the movie comfortably while being seated on a seat, but there are many people who are standing and watching. So elite Mansabdars, they have refused to share their seats, So therefore, what the cinema hall manager will do, he will ask those people who have sat for, let's say, 30 minutes, right, to stand up and please give the seat to others. Right now, somehow the movie was very famous. Even more further crowd started entering the cinema hall. Now his manager is asking the people to vacate the seat every 5 minutes. Right. So therefore, the person, you are watching the movie, right? But you're watching the movie and at the same time you are looking at the manager. Take. And you're like, so basically what is happening is you are insecure. Why? Because the emperor is going to transfer the Jagir of the smaller mansabdars. वो उनको तो दबा सकता है, elite वालों को तो दबा नहीं सकता, right? So he will be transferring the Jagirs, because they are transferable, to those mansabdars who are Jagirless. And therefore no one knows कि when tomorrow morning I wake up, well, I'll be having a letter from the emperors telling me that now this is no more your Jagir. So therefore I want to maximize my earning from the Jagir. So I do not respect the Patta system, through which in the Patta system the land revenue that was to be paid was, so therefore that is not to be respected. I'll bring in Ijaradars, because Ijaradars, they will have their hunter, right? Ijaradars, they will try to maximize my earnings. I bring in Ijaradars. Plus I do not invest in the productivity of the land. मैं कोई कुएं नहीं खुदवा रहा, I'm not doing any irrigation work, I'm not using any kind of buying any manures, I'm not trying to procure better quality seeds, etc. for my peasants. Why? I will be the person who will be investing money, and maybe the next mansabdar is going to enjoy. Why? Because insecurity of tenure is there. Kal ho na ho. I do not know whether I'll have the Jagir tomorrow or not. I am not investing. You tell me that for the next 10 years this Jagir is mine, then I'll invest, so that I am able to have return on investment also, right? So that I am able to convince the emperor that, see, I invested a lot in the productivity of the Jagir, and therefore now my incomes have increased, so therefore some more income should be there with me, right? So they are not, and as a result what happens, the poor farmer, he will not be able to have more incomes, because no one is investing in the productivity of the land. Poor farmer is not rich enough to invest in the productivity of the land himself, right? So therefore his income level will be further down. Ijardars are still present. Everyone wants to loot the poor man, and therefore one time will come when he will revolt. And therefore peasant revolts of 18th century took place against the Mughals. Jat kingdom was set up by Churaman Jat, who was Zamidar, right? Peasants, they consider primary Zamidars as their traditional leader of the society. It was the primary Zamidar who they went to when they could not pay land revenue. कि साहब इस season में आप देख लो please, this season you take care. It was the primary Zamidar who they went to when they had to get their daughter married, right? Or whenever any such problem was there, right? So therefore primary Zamidar is the person who is the traditional leader of the rural society. Not at all times he is simply an oppressor. In many of the cases, good positive relationship can also be there between the primary zamindar and the peasant at the ground. कोई जरूरत थोड़ी है कि हर प्राइमरी जमींदार अमीर पूरी होगा. It's not necessary कि हर प्राइमरी जमींदार के आप जैसे बाल हो. It's not necessary that every primary zamindar will have hairstyle like you, right? So they can have hairstyle like me also. Anyways, so when they revolted, the leadership was taken by the primary zamindar. Ground force was of the peasants, and therefore, can we say that the Jagirdari crisis, it contributed to what you call as the peasant revolts of the 18th century, right? And one example can be the Jat kingdom also of Bharatpur, right? Anyways, लिखो इसको बता दो. हाँ बिल्कुल ठीक है, पहले ही वाला पॉइंट लिख लो. Peasant revolts in 18th century were therefore product of Jagirdari crisis. And they were led by zamindars. and they were led by zamindars, who were traditional leaders of rural society. Zamindars who were traditional leaders of rural society. Who were traditional leaders of rural society. Example, Jat kingdom set up by, example, Jat kingdom set up by Churaman Jat, Churaman. Jat kingdom set up by Churaman Jat, Churaman, Churaman Jat, comma a zamindar, was a product of peasant revolt, was a product of peasant revolt, was a product of peasant revolt. Therefore, was a product of peasant revolt. Therefore, Jagirdari crisis hurt political stability. Jagirdari crisis hurt political stability. किसी प्रकार से आप सोच सकते हैं political stability. If the people are on the ground, they are out on the streets revolting, that is law and order instability. If people on the ground they are revolting, that is law and order instability. And if a new kingdom is getting set up, that is also political instability. That is out of my own kingdom, out of my own empire, some people have rebelled and they have set up another kingdom, right? So therefore this is also hurting my political stability. So therefore this economic crisis, it hurt the law and order stability at the ground level, and it also hurt the political stability or the political domination of the Mughals, right? Next, जागीरदारी crisis. पूछ ले यार, तू इतना दुखी मत हो. हाँ, क्या पूछ, बता. So student is mentioning that, stating that since the Mansabdars, they are being Mansabdars, their Jagirs are being transferred very frequently, so therefore the Mansabdars, they would have very little incentive, or they would have more incentive to do military corruption, right? Because I do not know, I'm insecure, I want to maximize my personal earnings, I'm not going to spend 60 rupees. 60 rupees क्या 10 रुपए नहीं spend करूंगा आर्मी पे, बाढ़ में जाए मेरी सवार. Right? So obviously वो होगा ही, वही तो नेक्स्ट पॉइंट लिखवा रहा हूं आपको, लिखो नेक्स्ट पॉइंट. जागीरदारी क्राइसिस लेड टू मिलिट्री करप्शन. जागीरदारी क्राइसिस लेड टू मिलिट्री करप्शन by Mansabdars. Therefore contributing to military weakness. Next, group politics increased. As Mansabdars competed for Jagirs even more. As Mansabdars competed for Jagirs even more. Right? So therefore you see, it is contributing to factionalism as well. Full stop. Next, last point ऐसे लिख लीजिए. Mughal state was a military state. And when military weakened, the state weakened. Mughal state was a military state, and when military weakened, the state weakened. Military weakened, the state weakened. right? So you see, this is how you can make your notes, right? All of these things that we have written here, matlab, except for the sum, aaj ki class mein, it can be summarized in this half a page, right? So how did we begin? We basically mentioned that we talked about factionalism, and we discussed that factionalism, why it was there. It had this component that there were succession disputes, right? That is potential kings. We did some additional interconnection, that is succession disputes were there, and then fight for mansabs were there. So therefore there were mansabdars who wanted better mansabs, more mansabs, better jagirs, and there were kings who were fighting for the succession disputes, and this led to uncontrolled factionalism. Why there was succession? So therefore post AZ 5807 there were weak personalities and many succession disputes were there. This resulted in uncontrolled factionalism. How? So on one side there are mansabdars which are rich monetarily, who have strong army, and on the other side there are aspirants who want to be the king, and therefore they want to have mansabdars on their side. You see, this is a proof of they having a weak personality, that they are not caring for the stability of the Mughal Empire. They are only selfish. Unko bas raja banna hai, bhaad mein jaye Mughal Empire, right? That is factionalism can increase, but we are just wanting to be the king, right? So they are contributing to the negative of the stability of the center. Inko bas raja banne ke liye they are ready to engage in group politics, right? So therefore, because of A and B, the net result is that uncontrolled factionalism is taking place, right? Apart from this, mansabdars. Also these mansabdars, they acted selfishly, right? Later on, ek aur point hai. Example, focus was to make Bengal, Hyderabad, Awadh as successor state. That is, they are selfish, totally selfish. Anyways, ek general point tha. ये वाला जो point है that the mansabdars are behaving in this particular manner and the king is trying to this thing. This is nothing but institutional failure. Why? Because the loyalty is in question mark. The king, by promising a different kind of mansab, can the potential king, the wannabe king, the person who wants to become the next king, he can weaken the loyalty of a mansabdar towards the present king by promising him more mansabs or better mansab. And therefore this is proof of institutional failure or systematic failure. This is personal loyalty in operation, which can be purchased by promising you better mansab, and I can weaken your loyalty towards the present emperor by promising you better mansab, right? So therefore this is an institutional weakness which is there. Now this particular thing, it contributed also to Jagirdari crisis. Why? Because the king will now give not just better mansab, but will try to give more and more mansabs. As a result, number of mansabdars will increase, whereas the Jagir, it is limited. So can we say that factionalism contributed to Jagirdari crisis? It led to Jagirdari crisis because gave more mansabs. King gave more mansabs. Also, then we came to the topic of Jagirdari crisis. So what is leading to Jagirdari crisis? Factionalism is leading to Jagirdari crisis. Also, addition of Deccani group, in brackets, lands of Gobi, Golconda, Bijapur. They were made Khalisa lands. So therefore, number of mansabdars they increased. Inequity was there. 5% mansabdars, they had 61% of Jagirs, right? Therefore, this also contributed to Jagirdari crisis. Additional point, inequity was there. Therefore, poor, smaller, numerous, greater in number, mansabdars, plus inflation because of exports to Europe. So therefore, as a result, these people are insecure, and this contributed to the Jagirdari crisis. So these are the reasons because of which Jagirdari crisis is taking place. What are the impacts of the Jagirdari crisis? Now we have an insecure mansabdar. Why he is insecure? Because A, he has a smaller Jagir, which we mentioned here. Smaller, numerous mansabdars. A, he has smaller Jagir, and second, he is singing the song Kal Ho Na Ho. That is, maybe I'll have Jagir tomorrow or not, right? This Kal Ho Na Ho thing, right? It will lead to some things, but pehle isko kam kar lete hain. So insecure mansabdar, what did he do? He did corruption. Corruption means military corruption, and increased factionalism. Why? Because he wants Jagir. For example, right now, if I am belonging to a group, well, basically right now, if I am Jagirless, let's say, right? So I'll be lobbying with the king to ensure that I get a Jagir as soon as possible. Or if I have a Jagir today, then I'll lobby with the king in the central court, that is in Delhi, to ensure that this Jagir stays with me for a longer period of time, right? So competition for the cake is increasing. So not just corruption, but also factionalism increasing. And in this sense, can we say that factionalism, that Jagirdari crisis, it led to greater factionalism? Right? So यहाँ से एक arrow वहाँ चल गया, further factionalism. Anyways, military corruption, it led to military weakness because Mansabdar is not maintaining army as per Sawar. Kal hona ho feeling, that is insecurity of tenure, it led to what? Operation of ryots and primary zamindars. Example, greater ijardari system, that is greater use of ijardari system to extract as much amount of land revenue as possible in as little time as possible, because I do not know whether tomorrow I'll have this Jagir or the king is going to transfer this Jagir to someone else. Why? Because there are so many contenders, Jagirless Mansabdars who want to have a Jagir. Also this feeling of kal hona ho, that is the Jagir will be with me or not, it led to no investment in productivity of Jagir. And therefore these two things combined, they led to what you call as revolts by the peasants and primary zamindars. Example, Jat kingdom. Therefore, can we say Jagirdari crisis hurt political stability of the Mughals? Right? So you see, it is nothing but one kind of an A4 page, which is through flowcharts. But you will be, even if you copy this, you will not be able to feel its, vibe. Why? Because it is made by me. I did not do anything. I simply, when I was telling you things, right? So therefore, I thought to create this flowchart. For me, it is very, very good. For me, it can serve. I can take a very long class of 3 hours, but by just having this one A4 in front of me. Fine. Right now, I can take it even without it also. But the point is, ki matlab, for example, this will provide me a structure. This in one page, I can speak for 3 hours. And you can write an essay. But for that, this page has to be created by you. So therefore, this is how you should try to see the links and try to make some notes on your own, right? So therefore, this is how factionalism ka linkage with Jagirdari crisis and some additional points, right? Hanji. If land revenue was? Yeah. If land revenue is extracted more, then Zamindar will also have a greater share. The thing it is fine, right? I agree. But the point is that if land revenue is extracted more, then Zamindar will also pay more land revenue from his own lands also. And second point is, it is the Ijardars now who have taken away the job of Zamindars. The Zamindars, they are victims now. Because now Ijardars have been brought. Zamindars, they are with the Ijardari system, the Zamindar has a job loss. Why? Because the right to collect revenue, it is auctioned to the highest bidder. And the highest bidder is a man of money, a merchant, a money lender. And he with his lathyals, he with his private army, he goes to the field, extracts land revenue from the primary Zamindar also and from the peasants also. Right? So therefore, there is job loss rather for them. Here. So basically it simply means that it will be proven when we discuss the proofs of the decline of the Mughals. So therefore when the center was shaking, when this factionalism is increasing, when Jagirdari crisis is increasing, when military weakness is coming, when the central Mughal emperor authority, it is gradually becoming very, very weak. So therefore 2 options were there between those Mansabdars who were very, very intelligent, those Mansabdars who were monetarily rich, those Mansabdars who were militarily rich. One option could have been that we are not going to be selfish, right? Court politics is taking place, but my national interest servopari. That is, let's say if they had thought that the strong center or the stability of the Mughals, it is more important to me than me becoming a Nawab, right? So therefore, I'm not going to fight for getting a principality of my own. I'm not going to fight to have Bengal as my own. Rather, I'm going to stand selfishly with the emperor and say, mera koi personal interest nahi hai, but I am there with you, and or 5 or 6 of us, we are going to, you are a weak personality, you are Rangila, you are Muhammad Shah Rangila, right? But we 5, instead of fighting among each other, we are going to ensure that all these Mansabdars, other Mansabdars, they stay in their limits and they do not weaken the center, right? But these elite Mansabdars who were sharp people, who were good leaders, instead of focusing on strengthening the central authority, they acted selfishly कि भैया अपना अपना संभाल लो, right? So therefore from that particular political perspective. From political perspective. Hmm? They will be able to have dynastic rule. We'll discuss the successor states later. That's why I did not elaborate upon it. When there is a successor state, that means my family is ruling Hyderabad forever now. My family is ruling Awadh forever now. My family is ruling Bengal forever now. So therefore, dynastic rule, it is being established in the successor states. We'll discuss that. Right. So anyways, let's go on a break of 10 minutes. Right. After that, we'll meet and we'll discuss the heading proof of decline of Mughals. So there are some question. So can we use flowchart to explain our answer? No. In the exam, the flowchart should be, your answer cannot be dominated by flowchart. But yes, you can use flowchart just in case if you have extra time and you want to add some more dimensions, right? And it should come after your writing, your content, your paragraphs, they should be main. Or just in case, let's say you have only 5 minutes left and you have to answer 2 questions, right? So maybe you can draw a flowchart and expect at least some answers. So these flowcharts are basically majorly for your own faster revision. Sir, why they want support of Mansabdars? Isn't it hereditary? No, it is not hereditary. It is based on lineage, but the power it is with the emperor, whether to make someone a Mansabdar or not. Yes, there is no exam. So in the society, such system is there that chances are much more high of you becoming a Mansabdar if your family also had some great Mansabdars in the past. Right? So therefore, chances are high, but ultimately it is the king who will decide. So, but why Mansabdars hold so much power? Mansabdars, they hold so much power because the king is dependent upon the Mansabdars for contribution of military. And the person who contributes military, it is the person who contributes power to the king. So there is a dependence of the king on the Mansabdars for military. That is why the Mansabdars, they hold so much power. Till the point of time, the Mughal emperor is a very strong personality himself. So then the Mansabdars, they will stay in control. Otherwise, they will start dominating. Even in present scenario also, when you have strong single party majority governments, when you have a strong prime minister, the bureaucrats, they stay under control. But if there is a coalition government, the bureaucrats, they can act, they can do their own politics, and they are happier. They can be happier if, the government, it is a coalition government, this kind of scenario. Sir, but why, sir, are these factions same as of Sayyid brothers and Imadul Mulk? Yes. Sayyid brothers, they belong to the Hindustani group. Imadul Mulk was a grandson of Nizam and therefore from Turani group. What were Hindustani, Irani and Turani group of Mansabdars? So this has been explained. So sir, we can say personal interest of the Mansabdars and successors over the interest of the empire? Yes. That is, they are acting selfishly and they are putting their own interest above than the interest of the Mughal empire. So converted Indian Muslims means those who were earlier Hindus and now they had converted to Islam. Sir, how the exports led to inflation? This has been explained. When export they are taking place, that means that goods, they are moving out of India, leading to shortage of luxurious goods in India, leading to greater prices for the luxurious goods. Nizam 28 means which event? No, I have not mentioned anything like that. Nizam 244048 has been mentioned. As we know, in the past Mughal empire, they became weak and Mansabdar became more powerful. They were doing war in between them. That is the Mansabdars for ruling that empire or for more Jagirs. For more Jagirs and for better Mansabs, that is, for example, to become Wazir, to become Mir Atish, to become, senior Mansabdars, or to become what you call as governors or Subadars. Right? Sir, will the questions from this topic can come in prelims, mains? In both they can come. Mughals were taxing the exports by European companies. Yes, they were taxing. Is psychology an optional hard for a student who have no background in psychology? Yes, definitely it is very hard for students who have no background in psychology. Why? Because there is a lot of focus on what you call as your statistics. There is a part which is statistics and there is a part which is very much related to biology, right? So therefore, my psychology optional was good. My PubAd optional was also good. Right, but I did not expect that in psychology I would be reading stats, that I would be reading so much about hormones and all of these things. But yes, one thing it was clear, I was never of the opinion that I should give up this particular optional and pick up any other optional. Ki galat optional choose kar liya. Why? Because I found psychology interesting, right? So therefore, if interest is there, why to waste your effort? So those students who change their option, they usually have less chances of success in UPSC because effort is wasted. After Mughal, we can do primary zamindars follow the rules of the pattas? Well, nahi, matlab, it would depend. It would depend. So primary zamindars, they would follow the no, they will not. Why? Because if the Mughal empire is weak, if the Mughal emperor is weak, that means the supervision by the Mughal emperor is also weak. That means zamindars who are not respecting the patta system, they will not be punished. They will go unpunished. So therefore, the system of supervision, it will fail, right? Sir, Ijardari system was imposed by king or by Jagirdar. So king, he allowed Jagirdars to have Ijardari system, right? So if the Jagirdar wants, then he can have Ijardari system, right? And then during the time period of Farrukhsiyar, Ijardari system was implemented even in the Khalisa lands, that is even in the royal lands, right? So why Akbar was able to stay control Mansabdars than later rulers? The reason is that pre 1707, the Mughal emperors, they are strong personalities. They are good at politics, right? For example, in today's politics also, let's say the Congress High Command, the BJP High Command, the Sapa High Command, if they are not powerful leaders, if they are not powerful personalities, then they will not be able to control the infighting, right? So, you know, examples are there, right? Bagawat ho jati hai, party toot jati hai, Shiv Sena broke off recently. That means we can say that Uddhav Thackeray was not able to control the Mansabdars, as हम सोच सकते हैं. That Shiv Sena was, that is Shiv Sena Supremo was not able to control some of the ministers or some of the party members, right? Similarly, for example, in some other political parties, right? जैसे कांग्रेस में एक वो G20 group या पता नहीं क्या G23 group, right? Something they are writing some, you know. So basically, that means that so personality it should be strong, right? Mansabdars or the junior leaders, they can still try to revolt, but then the personality should be so strong that they are able to put them down, right? So just trying to borrow from the current politics, right? So anyways, somehow the Indian system is very personality driven. We have democracy, but still the era of pre-1857 in one way or the other continues, right? So therefore, usually a political party is associated with one face. So therefore, that focus on wanting to have a king, it is still there in our, you know, genes somewhere, right? कि हमारी political parties सारी one man parties ना, mostly they are personality driven parties. Anyways, Tanka Jagir was transferable, Watan Jagir was hereditary, yes. But if statement simply says Jagir was transferable, then what would be the answer? Answer will be yes. Why? Because majority of the Jagirs, they were Tanka Jagirs. And the core hallmark of the Mughal system is Tanka Jagirs. The Watan Jagirs, they are in much minority, right? So it depends on the option. Sir, Nizam 24404, in Nizam, he became governor of Hyderabad in 1724. In 1740, he got disgruntled with Delhi politics and he decided that I need to act selfishly and therefore I need to preserve my Hyderabad from the Marathas. Marathas are just on the left hand side of Hyderabad. So therefore I need to protect my Hyderabad. I'm saying bye-bye to Delhi. I am going to stay permanently, reside permanently in Hyderabad now. In 1748, he died. We'll be writing about him later. So, but rulers were weak. How can take away the land from the Mansabdars? Why will Mansabdar listen to the ruler? It is a smaller Mansabdars which would have to listen to the rulers, not the elite Mansabdars. Elite Mansabdars ne to manai kar diya ki we are not, you know, we are not going to give away an inch of our Jagir also. It is a smaller Mansabdars who would have to listen, right? Sir, are zamindars called landlords? Yeah, they can be called landlords, but majorly it is post-British 1793 permanent settlement that zamindars, they became legal owners of land. But yeah, in a way, zamindars, they are landlords. How zamindars imposed Ijardar system? No, zamindars did not impose Ijardar system. Zamindar, they are simply collectors of tax, right? Ijardar system will be implemented by Jagirdar, who is the consumer of tax, right? So therefore, I am the consumer of tax. Mera marzi. चाहे मैं जमींदार से करवाऊं या फिर मैं इजारदार से कराऊं, right? Yes, zamindar, they had hereditary rights, right? So yes, in the normal course of action, the Jagirdar cannot tell a zamindar that you will not collect land revenue in future. But because the emperor is introducing the Ijardari system, so therefore at least temporarily zamindar's job profile can be taken over by the Ijardar, right? Sir, please dictate at slow speed. I am not dictating anything. Sir, how exports led to inflation? This point has been covered, right? So anyways, write down. If the offline students are able to write, I'm assuming that the online students should also be able to write. So therefore, I manage my speed of dictation by looking at your speed, right? And right, so थोड़ा सा struggle होना चाहिए, right? हल्का बहुत. So write down proof of decline of Mughals. Heading is proof of decline of Mughals. Proof of decline of Mughals. Proof of decline of Mughals. Munipati is saying, sir, full of confusion. So ask your question and I'll try to resolve your confusion. Right? What is the confusing point that you can ask? Sir, did Mughals followed law of primogeniture? भाई मेरी अंग्रेजी इतनी अच्छी नहीं है. Primogeniture क्या है मुझे आप बता दोगे तो मैं बता दूंगा. But anyways, it is the core topic of the medieval, not the modern, right? So, right. I think primogeniture might come out to be elder son becoming the ruler. वही है ऐसा मतलब देखो ऐसा guess मार लेते हम, right? So I mean yeah, usually but it is not permanent because Aurangzeb himself was not the elder son, right? So there is no law, there is no constitution. If you have military power with you, you can break the law, right? So that is what is there. मुनिपति बताओ क्या confusion है भाई? Full of confusion तो लिख दिया आपने. अब पूरी क्लास तो रिपीट नहीं कर सकता घर में. एनीवेज, यू कैन सेंड योर क्वेश्चन, आई विल ट्राई टू रिजॉल्व दैट. ठीक है. इफ देयर इज एनी कंफ्यूजन रिगार्डिंग दिस फ्लो चार्ट, फॉरगेट इट, राइट? Why forget it? Because everything I have dictated to you, this flow chart is nothing but a product of that, right? So therefore, if you are not able to correlate कि सर ये यहाँ पे कहाँ से आया, etc., कोई जरूरत नहीं वो करने की, right? वो सब आप each and everything you have written, right? In a descriptive manner you have written. This was just an attempt to show that how one can consolidate. If the consolidated version you are not able to understand, it is very understandable, right? एक बार आप घर जाके रिवाइज करिए, आप देखेंगे कि ये सारी की सारी चीजें आप ऑलरेडी लिख चुके हैं. देयर इज नथिंग टू अंडरस्टैंड हियर एज सच, राइट? तो अगर आपने ये बनाया भी नहीं है तब भी कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. मोनिका इज आस्किंग, सर आई कुड नॉट अंडरस्टैंड ओनली 1.1 to 2%. आई कैन ओनली अंडरस्टैंड व्हेन आई अंडरस्टैंड 100%. Same is the case with me, Monica. Right? Only when I understand 100%, only then I understand 100%. But like which part you did not? You see, so see, whenever you tell any, what is the purpose of a teacher, right? Confusion, they can be there, right? Confusion, they can be there in the mind of the teacher also, because a teacher should always be a student. So I consider myself a student, right? Otherwise, I'll stop growing. The point is, a teacher will be able to help you if you ask specific questions. I've given you my email ID also yet or not? I have given you. So therefore, you can send email also, and I will reply. You can. There are batch coordinators also. उनसे भी आप पूछ सकते हैं. But if you say, sir, कुछ समझ नहीं आया, तो फिर the other person is helpless. He wants to help, but how to help you? So you have to ask something specific. क्या समझ में नहीं आया? Sir, कुछ समझ में नहीं आया. ऐसे नहीं होता है. Right? You have to drill down. Even if the question is very stupid, sir, I do not know what is 1213 that you are referring to. Sir, I do not know what is this English word that you have talked about. I do not know, sir, what is de facto. Right? कोई तो क्वेश्चन होगा, किसी चीज की वजह से तो नहीं समझ में आएगा. सर, आई डू नॉट नो कौन सा रूलर कब आ रहा है, ये भी एक क्वेश्चन है. तो चलो ठीक है, ब्लैंक पेज पे एक हायरार्की बनाते हैं, दैट विच रूलर केम व्हेन, राइट? सो ऐसा तो कुछ नहीं होता दैट कुछ भी मतलब यू हैव टू आस्क अ स्पेसिफिक क्वेश्चन, ओनली देन दी विजन टीम, दैट इज द बैच कोऑर्डिनेटर्स एंड द टीचर विल बी एबल टू हेल्प यू आउट. देयर हैज टू बी समथिंग स्पेसिफिक, राइट? आप ये बोलिए सर पैटर्न क्लाइंट रिलेशनशिप समझ नहीं आई, फिर मैं आपको जवाब दे सकता हूँ. अब सर समझ नहीं आया आज कुछ, अब उसका क्या जवाब दूं मैं? तो मैं यही कह सकता हूँ, हाँ मैं बेकार टीचर हूँ, और क्या कर सकता हूँ मैं, यही पूछ सकता हूँ ना. सर प्लीज प्रोवाइड योर ईमेल आईडी वंस अगेन. सो इट इज altruism@gmail.com. altruism heals, राइट? सर कैन यू गिव सम पॉइंटर्स ऑन सिलेक्टिंग ऑप्शन? अरे अभी ये सिलेबस पूरा हो जाने दो, ठीक. द सिंपल पॉइंटर कॉमन सेंस फॉलो करना चाहिए, कोई टॉपर टॉक नहीं देखनी चाहिए, ठीक है? कौन सा विच पर्टिकुलर सब्जेक्ट इज डूइंग वेरी वेल, ऑल ऑफ दिस इज sheer stupidity. The simple concept is, if the 60% of the good students, right, they will pick up an optional by seeing that in the past year, among the top 10, which people took which optional. It is very, very natural that in the next year also, that very same optional is going to have more top rankers. that optional is getting top ranks, not because of that optional. That optional is getting top ranks because good people are choosing that optional. And it becomes a vicious cycle. It becomes a cycle. You guys decide that, okay, I'll calculate that among the top 100, which particular optional was the maximum. Right? You are a good student, you choose that option. Next year also, same thing happens. Right? So therefore, it is not because the optional is good, it is because you are good. Right? So therefore, bhed chal. In the bhed chal, when everyone will, if 80% of those UPSC aspirants, they will take up PSIR, sociology, anthropology, then obviously toppers are going to come from here only, na? From where else they will come? Right? And the next year, the student will see, so many toppers came from these three options. That means these three options are running now. They can run. They are wearing Reebok, Nike, or what? Right? And then trends also change. For example, nowadays, since the time All India Rank 1 has come from history optional, now students said, I was thinking I find history interesting. Why? Simply because All India Rank 1 came. She went against the tide. She did not take up PSIR, sociology, anthropology. She went with her interest. She got rank 1. She is now changing the trend, and those of you are bhed, doing bhed chal. Right? They want to take up history optional. Why? Because you are not in love with the subject. You are not in love with the preparation of the UPSC. You want only one thing, and that is IAS selection. You're like, अरे sir, पाली भी पढ़ लेंगे. IAS तो बनाओ आप. That is your attitude actually. Right? So the simple first point is that you should follow common sense. And the first common sense is that if you were very good student in your college time of a particular subject which is also there in UPSC, there should not be any topper talk that you should listen to. There should not be anything that you should listen to. You should simply take that subject as your optional. Common sense is that at least 60% of that optional is already completed. So therefore only 40% more effort needs to be made. As simple as that. Right? If you were like me, that is 5 point someone in IIT Delhi, 5 point someone, civil engineering, I could not have taken any engineering subject, right? Because no interest is there. I was not a great student at civil engineering, right? So therefore, then the second aspect that comes into operation is that was there any subject in your school time which was very, very favorite, right? Maybe you like the teacher, right? Who was teaching, right? There are such teachers who generate such interest. For example, in my class 8, one Rakhi ma'am was there, right? She was of my grandmother or mother's age, right? But the way she narrated history, for the first time I started loving the subject and it became my favorite subject and I scored maximum in it. That means it is because of the teacher that I loved a particular subject, right? So therefore, just in case if there was such a subject in your school life which you feel कि यार वो पढ़ने में बहुत मजा आता था, therefore pick that subject. Why? No subject is smaller or bigger, right? Only धागे भर का फर्क होता है. That is at maximum 3 chapters, 10 chapters here or there. Otherwise, each and every optional is more or less of the similar length, right? In every optional, you would have to devote, 12 hours a day. When it comes to self-study, every optional you would have to work equally hard. Just that if you have interest in that optional, right, you will be able to devote those 12 hours easily, maybe 14 also. And you will be able to extract something out of it. But if you don't have any interest in that optional, it will become a burden for you. And you will never be able to excel in it. And what is interest? For example, tomorrow you go and tell me any game. You might not have played baseball. Have you played baseball? You have not played baseball, right? Tomorrow you go and play baseball and you do very well in it, right? Now I ask you, right? कि यार baseball खेलने चलेगा? चल यार. Right? After Sunday, you might say that I have interest in playing. What is your favorite sport? Right? Tell me your 3 favorite sports. Maybe the second one is baseball. I have interest in baseball. What made you feel? What makes us feel that we have interest in any particular subject? When we understand that subject, when we do well in that subject, we feel that we have interest in that subject. Right? For example, if I ask him that what is your interest? Right? And he tells me that my interest is singing. And asking, अच्छा चलो कुछ गा के सुनाओ, right? And he starts singing, what are you saying? नहीं sir, I have interest. Indian Idol is going on. वो fun वाला Indian Idol होता है ना, आशिक बनाया. So the judges are confused that this man is here out of his interest for singing a song, and what kind of song he's singing. So that is not natural, right? So if you tell me that your interest is playing guitar, you must be playing guitar well, right? So that is how we feel, right? जो चीज हमें we are not able to do well, वो उसमें हम interested नहीं होते, right? It is very very commonsensical, right? So therefore, during the school time, during the college time, if you find any subject interesting, that means there is potential that you can do well in that by putting in hard work. Follow common sense, right? And even if that is not there, right? Even if that is not there, then try to search in the UPSC that any subject during the GS preparation that you find very very interesting. अगर वो भी नहीं होता, then try to find some teacher which is very very famous in any particular optional. That is, follow the example. I, for example, never liked history, but when, dear ma'am, when she taught history, I developed interest in the subject. So कई बार teacher ऐसा होता है कि वो समझाता है इस तरीके से that it becomes interesting for you. For example, the momentum chapter was the first chapter in my 11th class. I by chance got such a teacher which made me feel that no, IIT, it is doable. Because I fell in love with physics because of that one teacher, the way he explained things. Right? So therefore, try to find some teacher of the optional which is very, very good then, who can generate that interest if you do not have that interest. Follow these 3-4 steps and zero in your optional. That's it. Do not look at who are the toppers. Do not look at the topper talks. Do not ask your neighbors which option you are taking. It is all gossiping. It is all chai pe chacha. It is all faltu ka time waste, which all of us do usually. Right? So therefore, that is what is there. So anyways, write down Jahandar Shah 1213. Jahandar Shah 1213. And acha. And if all of these fail, then take public administration. How many of you are from science background? Right, many. Public administration has pH of 7. Public administration has pH of 7. Water का जो pH होता है ना 7. Right? 9 minus, 9 plus. No one can hate PubAd. No one can love PubAd. No one can say PubAd is my favorite subject. No one can say I hate PubAd like anything. No one can say I don't understand PubAd at all. No one can say I greatly understand PubAd. Right? PubAd is lifeless kind of subject. Right? The only thing which is tough in PubAd, it is its dictionary, that is its English. Right? Only in complex English it is written. The syllabus is neither too large nor too small. It has pH of 7. Right? So if you're not able to identify anything, go with public administration. By simply working hard, you will be able to get above average marks, maybe even much better, depends if it clicks, because it is very organizational, very structural kind of subject. It is like you are studying management. Right? So therefore, अगर कुछ समझ नहीं आता तो PubAd उठा लो. It is neither the favorite of the UPSC aspirants or the UPSC. It is neither hated by the UPSC or the UPSC aspirants. Those subjects which are the favorite of the UPSC, so-called, right, they can suffer immediate death at any point of time. So therefore, especially do not take sociology, your PSIR, anthropology, just because everyone is taking it. Because you never know when the UPSC will cull you. ऐसे गाजर मूली की तरह काट देंगे. Right? I took the optional on this basis. Kecha simply see that which are the toppers. And I found out the PubAd and psychology, they are the top 2 subjects. मैंने ले लिए. Right? In 2012, out of 180 marks, they gave people 14, 16, 17 out of 180. एक paper में. Right? So out of, they are giving these kind of, out of 300. Out of 300, they gave 14 marks. 41 marks. I got 41. I was much better than others. I still got interview call in my second attempt. Right? Psychology, PubAd, geography, ये सब लोग इनके पीछे भागते थे. UPSC ने से गाजर मूली इधर काट दिया इनको. And that is when the trend changed and people started taking sociology, people started taking anthropology, and then these subjects are being taken more. So therefore, UPSC can cull at any point of time. So don't be in bedchal, focus on your interest. Right? Even if culling is there, see, I got culled in this thing, psychology and PubAd, both were culled like anything. Still I got interview call. Why? Because आई वॉज एबल टू डू, ठीक है वो एक पेपर में 41 आए बाकी में, तो मतलब रिलेटिवली स्टिल आई वॉज एबल टू गेट एन इंटरव्यू कॉल. तो इफ यू आर गुड इन एनी सब्जेक्ट देन डोंट वरी अबाउट एनीथिंग, राइट. ये सब एक्सटर्नल फैक्टर्स होते हैं. Jandar Shah 1213 came to power after executing. Jandar Shah 1213 came to power after executing. After executing. Father of Farooq Siyar 1213. 1319. Jandar Shah 1213 came to power after executing. Father of Farooq Siyar 1319. Who came to power? Father of Farooq Siyar 1319. Who came to power with help of, who came to power with help of Sayyid brothers, who came to power with help of Sayyid brothers. Sayyid brothers of Hindustani group, of Hindustani group. Full stop. But then Farooq Siyar 1319, but then Farooq Siyar 1319, but then Farooq Siyar 1319 wanted to free himself, wanted to free himself, wanted to free himself of control, wanted to free himself of control. Therefore planned to get rid of, therefore planned to get rid of Sayyid brothers, therefore planned to get rid of Sayyid brothers. Who then allied with Marathas, who then allied with Marathas, who then allied with Marathas to defeat and execute, Farooq Siyar 1319, to defeat and execute Farooq Siyar 1319. So basically what is happening here, see, these are the succession disputes that we talked about. Here we have written the successor disputes, right? Succession disputes, right? So now we are giving proofs, right? Now we are giving proofs. So therefore, what kind of succession disputes were there? So for example, Jahandar Shah coming to power in 1712 after killing father of Farooq Siyar. So therefore, it is factionalism in operation. Succession disputes are part of factionalism, right? Now, Jahandar Shah 1213 was executed, defeated and executed by Farooq Siyar, and Farooq Siyar is taking help of Sayyid brothers. So see, here we had written that aspirants who wanted power, they wanted to have mansabdars on their side, right? So this time who is on the side of the Farooq Siyar? Sayyid brothers, and with their help they are able to defeat and remove Jahandar Shah from power, and this is how Farooq Siyar comes to power. Who will become the wazir? Mansabdars, they want better mansabs. They are fighting for better mansabs and jagirs. So Sayyid brothers, they'll become wazir. They will become big mansabdars. They are the real rulers now. They are taking decisions. And Farooq Siyar is feeling that he is a puppet. Obviously, no one wants to be puppet. So therefore now he is like use and throw attitude he is having. That I want to free myself from this control of Sayyid brothers. Right? So therefore, who are the other mansabdars who are fighting for good mansabs and jagirs? Irani group, Turani group, right? Right? So therefore, Farooq Siyar gets in touch with them. And when Sayyid brothers, they come to know कि अब ये हमारा पत्ता काटने की कोशिश कर रहा है, that he is trying to remove us. So therefore, Sayyid brothers, they ally with Marathas, right? Who are backing them now. And they defeat and execute. अंधा कर दिया था फारूक सियार को. Right, blinded and killed Farooq Siyar 1319, right? And now they made next in line Muhammad Shah 1948 as the ruler, and he is a puppet of Sayyid brothers, right? Irani group and Turani group, they'll feel very bad. Why? Bhai, all the power is now with Hindustani group, right? They will make Muhammad Shah give all the mansabs and jagirs to the Hindustani group. How can we tolerate this? Also Turani group is having the same lineage as the Mughals. So they are like, क्या हालत कर दी मुगल एम्पायर की, converted Indian Muslims ने और the Hindustani group ने. So therefore Irani group and Turani group under the leadership of Nizam ul Mulk, they come together, they fight and defeat Sayyid brothers. And now emperor remains Muhammad Shah, but now he is no more a puppet of Sayyid brothers, right? And he has slightly more status, dignity. But who will be now the favorite of Muhammad Shah, or who will now be the real power person? Turani group का चिनकुलिस खान, जिसका नाम निजाम उल मुल्क भी है. So therefore you see, when did he become wazir? In 1722-24 he was a wazir. हमने लिखा as wazir from 1722-24 Nizam ul Mulk tried to resolve the Jagirdari crisis by trying to convince the elite mansabdars to give up their Jagirs, but he failed. So therefore see what he is getting after defeating Sayyid brothers. He is getting mansab of being wazir. He is getting mansab of being wazir. And this is all factionalism, group politics which is taking place. This is nothing but a khichdi of fight for good mansabs and jagirs and the succession disputes. Right? So this is what is happening. So write down. Who allied with Marathas to defeat and execute Farrukhsiyar Mantri 19 in 1719. In 1719. Same sentence is continuing. And placed Muhammad Shah 1948 in power, allied with Marathas to defeat and execute Farrukhsiyar Mantri 19 in 1719, and placed MD Shah, Muhammad Shah 1948, and placed Muhammad Shah 1948 in power as puppet emperor. In power as puppet emperor. माने कि he is now a puppet of Sayyid brothers. Full stop. Then Nizam ul Mulk. Then Nizam ul Mulk 244048. Nizam ul Mulk 244048 of Turani group. Nizam 244048 of Turani group. Turani, Turani group, allied, ALLIED, allied with Irani group, allied with Irani group, and defeated Sayyid brothers, and defeated Sayyid brothers, and defeated Sayyid brothers, and restored status of MD Shah 1948, and restored status of MD Shah 1948. See, puppet and influence, they are two different words. Influence is this much, puppet means total under control. So when you say restoring his status, so fine, not a puppet, but still under the influence of the Turani group and Irani group, right? Full stop. From 1722 to 24. From 1722 to 24. Nizam 244048. From 1722 to 24. Nizam 244048 served as Wazir. Nizam 244048 served as Wazir and served as Wazir. Full stop. Next point. Emperors post AZ 5807. Emperors post Aurangzeb 5807. Emperors post Aurangzeb 5807 are called, emperors post Aurangzeb 5807 are called later Mughals, are called later Mughals. Well, actually all of them, they had usually very weak personality, not interested in administration, कि इनका एक कैटेगरी बना दिया historians ने कि भाई इनको later Mughals बोलते हैं, let us call them later Mughals. Right, so later Mughals से पहले वाले जो Mughals हैं, they are strong rulers, and later Mughals, they are weak rulers. Right, so emperors post Aurangzeb 5807 are called later Mughals. who were weak rulers, who were weak rulers, who were weak rulers with weak personalities, who were weak rulers with weak personalities, and not interested in administration, and not interested in administration, and not interested in administration. Example, MD Shah 1948. Example, MD Shah 1948. अब देखिए जो मोहम्मद शाह 1948, right? See, so you can say that, sir, you are saying succession disputes, but sir, I dispute it. And why? Sir, Muhammad Shah 1948, that means roughly 49 minus 19, 3 decades or 30 years. So therefore, he is in power for 30 years. So cannot we say that there is stability at the center now? Cannot we say that there is stability in the center now? Sir, पहले तो मैंने आपको माना भाई बहादुर शाह 0712 only for 5-6 years, जहांगीर शाह 1213 only for 1 year, Farooq Siyar 1319 only for 6 years roughly. But Muhammad Shah 1948 30 years. So sir, how are you saying that the center became weak? There is a stable rule of Muhammad Shah. But as soon as I tell you the name of Muhammad Shah as Muhammad Shah Rangila, right? Rangila mane that he was a person who was more into leisure. He was a person who would wake up in the morning, listen to, some poetry. In the afternoon, watch some dance. In the evening, have some little, right? So therefore, so he is a person who is not interested in governance, who is not interested in military reforms or anything. He is not interested in ruling, right? And he's like, I'm not just, मैं राजा आदमी काम थोड़ी करता है. जैसे King Louis XVI in the French Revolution, King Louis XVI, brain work tires me, right? So I might have given that example earlier. Brain work tires me, King Louis XVI, right? So therefore he was that kind of a person, right? And he was able to stay in power. Okay, maybe I mentioned this earlier also. बताया आपको, right? He was able to stay in power because he was not interested. See, if he is a person who is not interested in anything, right? So there is no utility for Irani group or Turani group or Hindustani group to replace him. He is simply saying, I am ready to be everyone's puppet. Why do you want to replace me from power? What will you get by making my relative as the next emperor that you cannot get from me? Right? I am ready to be puppet, right? To bring my relative to power, right? You Mansabdars will fight among each other. Let's say Irani group will fight against Turani group, right? And Irani group, let's say, is victorious. And then you will make that king the emperor in the hope that this king will give you the desired mansab and jagir. इसीलिए करोगे ना भाई ये सब? No need. You guys fight among each other. Whoever wins, come to me. I will act as a puppet and I'll give you whatever you want. Why are you disturbing me? I am enjoying my life. What additional benefit are you getting by bringing this relative, right? So the Mansabdars, they also realized कि वो कोई point ही नहीं है. So whatever mansab and jagir we want, we can fight among each other. We can do our court politics, and whoever is victorious, he will go to Muhammad Shah and Muhammad Shah will sign. अच्छा हाँ बताओ किसको बनाना है? ठीक है कल, अच्छा ये हट गया वो, अच्छा हट गया, चलो ठीक, अब किसको बनाना है वजीर? तो जो आप बोलोगे मैं कर दूंगा. So there is no utility. So because he was able to stay in power for 3 decades, because he was not interested in ruling, because he was not in favor of policy A, he did not reject policy B. He too in favor of policy C. ऐसा कुछ है ही नहीं उसका. उसका जो तुम करना, तुम आपस में लड़ो ना भाई, and you tell me who is victorious. So you see, you will be able to be in power. Utility नहीं है ना to remove him. You remove one emperor with another emperor because you want the next emperor to be your puppet. If the present emperor himself is saying that I am ready to be puppet of whoever wins, then there is no utility of removing him, na? There is no utility. Sign ही तो चाहिए ना किंग का, वो कर देगा जहां पे भी करवाना है साइन तुमको, तुम लड़के जीतो तो सही, right? So therefore, that's why he is able to stay in power, because there is no utility of removing him, because he is willing to be the puppet of whichever Mansabdari group wins. If you are fighting, do court politics, no problem, right? So that kind of thing. Muhammad Shah 1948, इतना जलील आदमी. For example, Alivardi Khan 4056, Nawab of Bengal 1740 to 1756. Sarfaraz Khan in 1739 was the Nawab of Bengal, right? Alivardi Khan was war commander. Alivardi Khan wrote a letter to Muhammad Shah that if you do not dispute my claim as next Nawab of Bengal, and if you do not object to me fighting and removing Sarfaraz from power, then I will give you 2 crore rupees or 1 crore rupees plus all the personal wealth of Sarfaraz Khan I'll seize and I'll give it to you. Muhammad Shah replied, हाँ बढ़िया ठीक ठीक करो, no problem. He is not interested. चलो कटो मरो, मेरा my system should not be disturbed. Right? I'm enjoying my life. Right? Although on the positive side, he was very artistic. He wrote good poems also. Right? So anyways, this kind of scenario. Right? So ये है. Example, MD Shah 1948 came to be known as, example, MD Shah 1948 came to be known as Rangila. RANGILA, Rangila. As he spent most time in leisure, detached from political and administrative issues, most time in leisure, detached from political and administrative issues, right? Next point. See, we are writing proofs. Kaise? For example, if you look at the first sentence, so in our analysis of decline of Mughals, we did not give you any facts, and in our analysis we simply mentioned that there were many succession disputes and therefore the center was not stable, and as a result we have given proof that how there were succession disputes when we mentioned Jahandar Shah, Farrukhsiyar, etc. Right? Then in the analysis point we mentioned that there was increased factionalism. The Mansabdars, they wanted either influence over the existing emperor or they wanted next emperor of their choice so they can get better mansabs and jagirs. Uska proof हमने दिया कैसे? For example, Sayyid brothers, they are installing Farrukhsiyar as the next emperor by replacing Jahandar Shah, and in return they are becoming wazirs, right? So they are getting great power, right? एक जैसे हमने कहा that Turani group allied with Irani group and defeated Sayyid brothers, right? And therefore you see Chin Kulish Khan or Nizam got influence over the existing emperor Muhammad Shah. Proof, from 1722 to 1724 he is serving as a wazir, right? So therefore existing emperor's influence ka proof done, next emperor and influence ka proof also done, hai na? Next, for example, we mentioned that emperors after Aurangzeb are called later Mughals. They were weak personalities. So this point we also mentioned in the analysis part, that emperors after Aurangzeb, they were weak personalities and they could not keep the Mansabdars under control, right? Weak personalities ka proof given, Muhammad Shah Rangila. Could not keep Mansabdars under control, proof already given. If a group of Mansabdars called Sayyid brothers, they are able to execute Emperor Farrukhsiyar, that means they are not under control. Emperor ko maar diya. So you see, that is proof of decline of Mughals. They are not under control, right? Next item. Beginnings, next point. Beginning 1705, Marathas began defeating. Beginning 1705, Marathas began defeating. Beginning 1705, Marathas began defeating Mughals. Marathas began defeating Mughals. Marathas began defeating Mughals. Full stop. In 1719, they were successful in placing. In 1719, they were successful in placing Muhammad Shah 1948. In 1719, they were successful in placing Muhammad Shah 1948 as puppet ruler. Muhammad Shah 1948 as puppet ruler, and extracted some gains. So what are these gains? We will discuss when we discuss rise of the Marathas, right? So therefore you see, is it not proof of the military decline that an external power, Marathas, they are able to choose that who will be the ruler, and that ruler will be a puppet, joint puppet of Sayyid brothers as well as Marathas, right? So therefore this is proof of decline of Mughals, right? Next, 1737 dash Bajirao 2040. Bajirao 2040. So Bajirao was Peshwa, right? You might have seen a movie, Diwani Mastani, Bajirao Mastani, right? So therefore, till the point of time, those pictures of Ranveer Singh did not come out, right? In the class, I used to tell the people that you should remember Bajirao 2040 as the Bajirao Ranveer Singh. So bracket में स्टार लगा के रणवीर सिंह लिखवा देता मैं. But since the time those lizard-like photos have come of Ranveer Singh, I have stopped making the comparison, right? So Bajirao 2040, he was Peshwa or Pradhan Mantri, Prime Minister from 1720 to 40, right? Peshwa means Pradhan Mantri of Maratha Chhatrapati, right? So 1737 dash Bajirao 2040 plundered Delhi. Plunder mane attack and loot. Plundered Delhi and kept MD Shah 1948 and kept Muhammad Shah 1948 captive. Captive mane prisoner. Kept Muhammad Shah 1948 captive temporarily. Kept Muhammad Shah 1948 prisoner temporarily. Next point. Then in 1738, Marathas defeated. A large Mughal army. Then in 1738, Marathas defeated a large Mughal army led by Nizam 244048. A large Mughal army led by Nizam 244048. Right, so you see, this is the proof. If a very large, see what is the military power? We said now, as military weakened, the state weakened. What is the military power of the Mughals? That Marathas, they are attacking Delhi, the capital, looting it, and keeping the emperor prisoner temporarily, and then returning back. So therefore, this is a proof of military decline of Mughals that we are doing. In the analysis part, we had written that because of military corruption, because of Jagirdari crisis, because of all of these things, military weakened. And therefore, now we are giving proofs कि हाँ भाई देखो, actually में military weakened. Right? Then in 1738, a large Mughal army. That means Mughals, they are putting in their full power, but still getting defeated by Marathas. So therefore, can we say that by 1738, Marathas have proven that they are a stronger power than the Mughals? Right? So therefore, Marathas had become the top power by the time period of 1738. Right? And then in 1739 January, signed Treaty of Bhopal. And then in 1739 January, signed Treaty of Bhopal, where they extracted Treaty of Bhopal, where they extracted Suba of Malwa, and sovereignty, Suba of Malwa, and sovereignty over all territory, Suba of Malwa, and sovereignty over all territory between river Chambal, and Narmada, between river Chambal and Narmada, sovereignty over all territory between river Chambal and Narmada, between river Chambal and Narmada, between river Chambal and Narmada. So therefore now you draw something like this, draw a C. बनाओ C बनाओ C, draw a C. इस पे नहीं हो पाएगा, तुमसे ना हो पाएगा. Next page. Right? So this is river Chambal and this is river Narmada. Right? And here in between there is a province or state of Malwa. Right? Suba of Malwa. Right? And this is the rest of the territory between river Chambal and Narmada. So therefore the Marathas, they are getting Suba of Malwa and they are getting sovereignty over all territory. That means they are the rulers of all the territory between river Chambal and Narmada. Somewhere here there is Hyderabad. On the left hand side of Hyderabad, ऐसे बनाओ, C बनाया, Chambal Narmada लिख लिया, right? Then Hyderabad, ठीक? And here Marathas. On the left hand side of Hyderabad, Marathas. On the left hand side of Hyderabad, Marathas. Right? Then draw a inverted T. Then draw a inverted, मतलब T बनेगी, एक line बनाओ ऐसे. That is common. And this is Mysore. That is Mysore. It shared border with Hyderabad as well as Marathas. Mysore, it shared border with Hyderabad as well as Marathas. And here draw something like this, Carnatic. 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 That is present day Tamil Nadu. Carnatic. Right? Carnatic. Right? So therefore it is something like this. Right? And here you have Northern Sarkars. Northern Sarkars means coastal Andhra. Northern Sarkar means coastal Andhra. ठीक? So पहले एक C बनाया, then simply Hyderabad. On the left hand side of Hyderabad, Marathas. Common border of Mysore with Marathas and Hyderabad. Then Carnatic, it is here. Carnatic, it is here. And they are Northern Sarkars. Right? Here there is a state called Travancore, which is today's Kerala. There is a state called Travancore. Right? Something like this. Travancore. Right? And Mysore, aisa. Right? So something like this you can draw. Here there is Gujarat. Here there is Gujarat. Something like this. Here there is Goa. Anyways, this is called Konkan Coast. This is called Konkan Coast. And this is called Malabar Coast. Konkan Coast, Malabar Coast. And this is called Coromandel Coast. Right? So therefore this is how you can, मतलब मैंने perfect नहीं बनाया, मतलब you can gradually perfect, only with straight lines, grid like map you can form, right? Because here the purpose is not to tell the shape of India, the purpose is to tell the relative locations of different powers which were there in India, and therefore those students who do not have very good drawing, they can make such grid-like maps in the exam, and they can also highlight. That is, usually there should be some description, and in the figure, right, you can highlight a grid map only for relative placement or relative locations. So therefore, you're not even claiming in front of the examiner that this is a map which gives the shape of the map of India. You're simply claiming that this is a grid map which tells us about the relative locations of the different places. And therefore, those students who have phobia of maps, right? Because usually we try to, there may be people who are not able to remember the shape, उस तरीके से नहीं बना सकते हैं. So therefore, you can use grid and mention it like this, right? So examiner knows that, okay, the student knows where what is faster map making is also possible, and this thing is also there, right? So it is like this. ठीक है, बन गया, right? So this is how the things are. Next, write down invasion by Nadir Shah. Next heading, invasion by Nadir Shah. Invasion by Nadir Shah. Invasion by Nadir Shah. In brackets 1738-40. Invasion by Nadir Shah. In brackets 1738-40. Umar is asking, sir, please explain Nizam 244048. In 1724, Nizam became governor of Hyderabad. In 1748, he died. In 1740, he left Delhi permanently after this event of invasion by Nadir Shah to relocate permanently and live in Hyderabad. Right? Why that is important? Because that tells us that now there is nothing for such an important Mansabdar in Delhi. That Delhi has declined so much that now he feels कि भैया Delhi politics को छोड़ो, यहाँ पे आ जाओ. This kind of scenario. It is a symbolic proof of decline of power at center. कि अब कोई फायदा नहीं है सेंट्रल लेवल पे मिनिस्टर बनने का, we should become chief minister. This kind of scenario. So write down reason for invasion. Reason for invasion dash. Reason for invasion dash. In Afghanistan, comma, Nadir Shah's opponents. In Afghanistan, comma, Nadir Shah's opponents. Nadir Shah's opponents were given protection by Mughals. Nadir Shah's opponents were given protection by Mughals. Nadir Shah's opponents were given protection by Mughals. In Mughal controlled territory. In Mughal controlled territory. In Mughal controlled territory. In Mughal controlled territory. Plus his messenger was held captive. Plus his messenger was held captive. His messenger was held captive in Delhi. His messenger was held captive in Delhi. So you see, some part of Afghanistan, it was under the Mughals, and some part of Afghanistan, it was under this Iranian ruler. So India, it is here, Pakistan, and on the left hand side of Pakistan, Iran is there, right? So Iran से Afghanistan तक kingdom था Nadir Shah का, right? So therefore, in some part of Afghanistan, it is there with the Mughals, and neighbors, they usually have problems with each other. So opponents, that is those people in the polity of Iran, Afghanistan, those who are anti Nadir Shah, they are being given protection, they are being supported by the Mughals in the Afghanistan, which is controlled by the Mughals, right? So this kind of scenario. For example, today Taiwan, it is supported by US, and therefore frictions between US and China, right? So this kind of scenario, right? Plus, likhiye, plus Nadir Shah wanted to plunder Indian wealth. Nadir Shah wanted to plunder Indian wealth. Nadir Shah wanted to plunder Indian wealth. ये गलती से उन्होंने मुझे दे दिया, मेरा नहीं वाला. Nadir Shah wanted to plunder Indian wealth. So therefore, these are the reasons because of which Nadir Shah is invading India. Next item, why Nadir Shah won? Why Nadir Shah won? Why Nadir Shah won? WN. First sub point, Mughals were militarily weak. Mughals were militarily weak. Mughals were militarily weak. Example, Marathas. Example, Marathas defeated large Mughal army. Example, Marathas defeated large Mughal army in 1738. Example, Marathas defeated large Mughal army in 1738. Marathas defeated large Mughal army in 1738. Second point, lack of military reforms. Lack of military reforms. In brackets, technology and organization. ये पॉइंट हम पहले लिख चुके हैं ना. लैक ऑफ मिलिट्री रिफॉर्म्स, कौन से मिलिट्री रिफॉर्म्स? ऑर्गेनाइजेशन वाले और टेक्नोलॉजी वाले. टेक्नोलॉजी एंड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ब्रैकेट्स क्लोज. प्लस मिलिट्री करप्शन बाय मनसबदार्स. प्लस मिलिट्री करप्शन बाय मनसबदार्स ड्यू टू जागीरदारी क्राइसिस. मिलिट्री करप्शन बाय मनसबदार्स ड्यू टू जागीरदारी क्राइसिस. Military corruption by Mansabdars due to Jagirdari crisis. Next, Sadat Ali Khan, Sadat Ali Khan, SADAT, Sadat Ali Khan, 2240. Sadat Ali Khan, 2240. In brackets, 1722-40, comma, Nawab of Awadh. In brackets, 1722-40, comma, Nawab of Awadh. Nawab of Awadh. Nawab of Awadh. So Awadh it is here. Right? Nawab of Awadh. वो ठीक है, बाद में मैं तो उसको 4-5 बार बनवाऊंगा तुमसे ये. ठीक है, तो टेंशन मत लो. नवाब ऑफ अवध ब्रैकेट्स क्लोज्ड. अब देखिए ये भी एक प्रूफ है. ये भी एक प्रूफ है किस चीज का? लुक एट द फैक्शनलिज्म. सादत अली खान ही वांटेड टू बी व्हाट यू कॉल एज द मिलिट्री पे मास्टर. दैट मींस द वन ऑफ द top war commander. Military paymaster is a person if expenditure is taking place in war, huge expenditure takes place in war, so वो पैसा किसके हाथ से खर्च होगा? That is, who will be the person who will be controlling the military expense when a war is taking place, right? So therefore he wanted to be this thing, Mir Bakshi, right? And initially he was fighting on the side of Mughals. Obviously he is a Mughal. Awadh is part of Mughal empire, right? It is a successor state, it is a part of Mughal empire. He is fighting on the side of the Mughals. Then what happens? In 1739, your Nizam 244048 is made Mir Bakshi. And this particular person, Sadat Ali Khan, is neglected. Now, what does he do? He starts fighting on the side of Nadir Shah. This is proof of factionalism. This is proof of weak emperor. This is proof of weak center. That one of your Mansabdar is fighting on the side of enemy because he could not get a Mansab. Arey do maro. What more? You are fighting on the side of the enemy because you could not get a Mansab. This is proof of factionalism. Right? So therefore, in UPSC, question will be asked for 150 marks. Or let's say 250 marks zyada. Right? If we have to cover all the aspects, right, then we should focus on analysis. And for each analysis, we should pick up, out of 10 examples, we should pick up 1 example. And then move on to next analysis. Out of 10 examples, pick up 1. And this is how we'll be able to have a very intelligent answer. Those students and those history books which study fact-wise, if you pick up any history book, this analysis part will not be extracted. They'll begin the story that in 1712, your 1712 Bahadur Shah was replaced with Jandar Shah, then this thing happened, then that thing happened, right? So facts merged hai. They are merged. In the class, what we have done is we have extracted the analysis. एक छलनी लेके by taking a filter, we have extracted the analysis, given you the analysis, so as a student you do not feel burdened by the facts, right? Commonsensical analysis is there in front of you, right? Which allows you to write 150 words or even more, right? And then we are giving you proofs. So pick and choose which proof you want to give to examiner. This is also an example of factionalism. right? So otherwise what will happen is you will start writing about factionalism, your 150 words will get over, factionalism mein hi khatam ho gaya, you are not able to cover the other aspects of the answer with respect to reason for decline of Mughals, right? तो उस perspective से हम लिख रहे हैं. So write down Sadat Ali Khan 2240 switched sides to fight alongside Nadir Shah, when he was not made Mir Bakshi, in brackets military paymaster, or imperial treasurer, that is a war commander, right? Kind of like a top war commander who is controlling all the military expense. And the mansab was given, Sadat Ali Khan switched sides to fight alongside Nadir Shah when he was not made Mir Bakshi, and the mansab was given to Nizam 244048. And the mansab was given to Nizam 244048. Mansab was given to Nizam 244048. Therefore, factionalism played a role. किस चीज में? Role in what? In victory of Nadir Shah. Factionalism played a role. Next, better military leadership of Nadir Shah. Right? Next paragraph, decisive was Battle of Karnal 1739. Decisive was Battle of Karnal 1739. After which, decisive was Battle of Karnal 1739. After which, Nadir Shah became Emperor of India. For 2 months. And MD Shah 1948 was taken prisoner. And Muhammad Shah 1948 was taken prisoner. In brackets ता लगा के Sadat Ali Khan 2240 committed suicide. Sadat Ali Khan 2240 committed suicide. When insulted post victory, by Nadir Shah. So Nadir Shah is like, when you are not loyal to your Mughal emperor, you will be loyal to me. Such dogs I have seen many. Basically insulted him, and therefore now he is like dhobi ka kutta na ghar ka na ghat ka, right? So therefore he committed suicide, right? So under so much disrespected because neither no status now, right? So that kind of scenario, right? The topic for the next class is going to be impact or result, right? But I'll take just 5 minutes of yours. See what is the impact of this Nadir Shah. Actually, one thing happened, and that is very, very important, and that was loss in prestige of Mughals. See, today, for example, when you go out on the street, it is the prestige of the power prestige of the police, because of which you put brakes on your car as soon as you see a policeman. Otherwise, one individual can be easily overpowered by so much of traffic. One individual, all the drivers of the car, they can pick the policeman, lock him somewhere and drive. It is the prestige It is the fear ki, this kind of scenario. So rule takes place not because there are so many policemen on the ground, but because of the prestige. Now, because this particular defeat was a very, very huge defeat for the Mughals, therefore the internal powers who are opposed to the Mughals, like Marathas and others, they got confidence. Arey, in 1738 Marathas are defeating, and in 1739 Nadir Shah is defeating, and such big defeats. वहां पे large Mughal army and here the whole Mughals. That means Mughals are no more the military power that they used to be. अब वो बात नहीं है. Now we can revolt. Now we can set up different kind of kingdoms if we want to set up. See, military prestige is coming down. From 1748, Ahmad Shah Abdali will start attacking in India. Why? Because he also knows that Mughals are no more powerful now. Right? See, military prestige is coming down. Peasant revolts will increase. Peasants will think, they will also know that now they are not as military powerful as earlier. So therefore, revolt karte dekha jayega. Right? You see, their confidence is also increasing. So military prestige is coming down. Then what happened? Ek rumor फैल गया. Rumor was Nadir Shah has died. And therefore the citizens of Delhi, they basically killed some 200-300 soldiers. Some mob, it killed some 3,000 soldiers, or figures vary, right? 3,000 soldiers, let's say they killed, right? Nadir Shah in reality was alive. So after that, Nadir Shah massacred 2 lakh citizens of Delhi, right? And Mughals, they are not able to do anything to protect these citizens. Therefore, Mughal prestige in the hearts and the minds of the citizens, it came down. They felt ki Mughals, they cannot protect us anymore. What kind of a state it is if you are not able to prevent such massacre? तो state के होने का फायदा क्या है? Right? So you see, prestige in the eyes of the people came down. Prestige in the eyes of enemies, military enemies, political enemies came down. Prestige in the eyes of foreign enemies came down. And then Muhammad Shah was very, very ill treated by Nadir Shah. Right? Right? Chal pair daba thode. Right? And Muhammad Shah was concerned with only one thing. He is like, I'm Rangila. I'm enjoying my life. That Baji Rao came, took me prisoner. मैंने क्या करना है? Took me prisoner temporarily. को मतलब है? ये मनसबदार को पकड़ो. They are the ones. भी तो जहां बोलते हैं I sign. Right? Similarly now, you have come. You have taken me prisoner. I simply want to live. You want me to press your feet? I press your feet. You want me to bring some liquor for you? I'll bring some liquor for you. Whatever you want. Tell me. You want me to dance? I'll dance. You want me to sing some poems? I'll sing some poems. Just spare my life, man. I want to live. That means he was not ready to protect his dignity. He was ready to bend to any extent to save his life. As a result, what happened? जो भी बचा कुचा इज्जत था, whatever left over respect was there in the eyes of the mansabdars for the Mughal emperor. That चाहे जो भी को चलो emperor है, रंगीला है पर emperor है, right? तो if he is passing तो ऐसे ही मतलब थोड़ा ऐसा ऐसा आ जाता है. Now that is also gone. So mansabdars, they lost respect. That this is a gone case scenario. This Mughal emperor is a gone case scenario. क्या करेगा जी के without dignity, right? But he simply wants to live. That is why don't be very surprised that Chin Kulis Khan or Nizam 244048 left Delhi permanently for Hyderabad in which year? 1740. In 1740. उसके बाद Nadir Shah said, I am not going to stop the massacres or I am not going to stop my havoc till the point of time you do not give me paisa. Because one of the reasons was to plunder the wealth of India. How much amount of money he demanded? Figures vary, but roughly 100 crore rupees worth of wealth in those times he took back. The Peacock Throne, which also had the Kohinoor in it, that was also taken away. Thousands of workers, artisans of India, they were taken away. Thousands of horses, elephants, diamonds, jewels, gold, it was taken away. Right? And then order is being given by the Mughal emperor and the Mansabdars to the junior Mansabdars all across the Mughal empire. Bhai, contribute. Country मारते पार्टी करनी है नादिर शाह को, country हम मार रहे हैं, contribute. So therefore you see already Jagirdari crisis was on, and at this point of time after the Aurangzeb 40 years of warfare and now all of this, right? So therefore, Mansabdars, they are becoming economically very, very weak because they have to contribute to this fundraising for Nadir Shah, right? And Nadir Shah took away all of this wealth. So therefore, you see, 100 crore rupees is a huge amount. So therefore, Mughal state is economically very, very weakened by the Nadir Shah's invasion. Mansabdars, they are further economically weakened by the Nadir Shah's invasion. Prestige, political prestige, economic prestige, people prestige, everything is down. Therefore, you see, in reality, on paper, Mughals were emperor till the point of time of 1857. But in reality, Mughal emperor ceased to be a power in India by 1740. And therefore, if anyone says that the Britishers, they removed the Mughals from power, it is a totally wrong statement in practice. Yes, legally it is a right statement. But in practice, it is totally a false statement. Mughal rule was ended more than 100 years before 1857. Right? Mughal rule was ended 17 years before Battle of Plassey, 1757. Because power is political power, military power, social power. Social power, prestige in the eyes of the people. Military power, defeats by Marathas and this thing. Your political, political power, already successor states are there. We'll discuss them very soon. Economic power, you see, 100 rupees worth of wealth, plunder by the Marathas. Right? So therefore, what power? Administrative power, Nilbata, Sannata, Mansabdars, they are disloyal, doing military corruption. You don't have control over your Mansabdars also. Which Mughal power? So therefore, in 1740, through these events, the Mughal power was zero. If you say Mughal power means Mughal emperor, then it is zero. If you say, sir, Bengal is also Mughal province, that I agree. That Mughals in the form of Bengal, Mughals in the form of Hyderabad, Mughals in the form of Awadh, yes, they existed. But if you say Mughals is equal to Mughal emperor, he stopped being a power in India by the time period of 1740. So this is the impact of Nadir Shah, which will directly start dictating in the next class. Okay? Explanation if needed, then you ask me questions. Otherwise, dictation of impact of Nadir Shah. Right? Thank you for your time. God bless you.